last call for the riders to answer. Today it was 7-time champion Lance Armstrong who let his performance speak for itself. Keeping his cool on the climbs, Armstrong finished with the overall favorites. Well, except for teammate Alberto Contador. The Spaniard broke ahead of the group to showcase his strength on the inclines. Only 2 seconds separate them. The Astana showdown is officially on. The ride to Paris continues next on Versus. A day after the drama unfolded on Arcalise, the Pyrenees are prepared to serve up the second course of high-altitude aggression. With so many questions blowing in the wind, the world hopes the answers aren't far off. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cadillac pre-race show, along with the extemporaneous Bob Roll. I'm Craig Hummer. Guess what? The headline is pretty clear. Alberto Contador is king. Contador's final acceleration up the climb to Arcalise sent shockwaves through the cycling world, Bob. Armstrong's lack of a response, equally so. So can you please make some sense out of all of this?
Well, an impetuous rider is Alberto Contador. Also, he has blistering accelerations in the mountains. I don't think there's anybody right now that can match those, but the Tour de France is a long race. To be the boss is one thing. To be the winner, that's something else entirely.
At the end of the stage, we heard from both Levi Leipheimer and Lance Armstrong. They didn't overtly come out and say it, but they hinted at Alberto went off the game plan.
Yes, they were doing tempo throughout the day, not just on the last climb, but the whole stage. A big breakaway, pretty dangerous. Those riders had a huge advantage, over 10 minutes at certain times during the course. So when your teammates have been out in the front all day long, and to attack them in the last couple of kilometers, you're only going to get a little bit of time. And you have to understand that that is not a good message to send to your teammates that have been doing that much work throughout the day. And also, if a rider like Andy Schleck or Cadel Evans would have been able to go across to Contador, well, that would have been even worse. So not exactly the best tactics. He is a great climber. He showed that. He demonstrated that. But the Tour de France is more than just brute strength. There's also a lot of tactics involved. And teamwork is as important sometimes as your ability to climb. So we'll see how that plays out. But he did not win any friends in his team during that acceleration to the line.
On any level, should anyone now believe that this team is unified?
I think that you can pretty much throw that out the window for the moment. When they get the jersey, and it's going to happen, maybe then we'll see for real if they're united and who they're going to work for. But for the time being, it's still a question. It's up in the air.
The discussion is just beginning. We'll talk to Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwen when they come in next segment about this same fact. Well, it was an interesting day, that's for sure. So right now, we show you the Wells Fargo highlights from stage number 7. As we have spoken of, Astana, a great show of force. They were at or near the front all day long.
They did the tempo to defend Lance Armstrong and Alberto's Contador coming into Andorra. There's the breakaway. That's the big group that got away early, and that they would contest actually the stage win, but back in the peloton, it was Astana doing all the work.
And they were comfortable letting that breakaway stay. When they got to the last climb of the day towards Arcalise, Astana still riding that tempo that we mentioned. The break staying close to 10 minutes in front throughout most of that climb.
And the group would get whittled down smaller and smaller. Here's the attack for the stage win from the front group. That is Bryce Fayou on the very small Agri 2Bell squad. New professional. He's only 25, first Tour de France, and this is the yellow jersey in all kinds of trouble further down the mountain.
The pace would be too much for Fabian Cancellara. He would end up losing yellow after the stage, but he put in a valiant fight, that is for sure. Up ahead at the front of the course, Bryce Fayou, he was sprouting wings.
He's never won a race in his professional career so far, but this is a great way to do it, to win a mountain stage of the Tour de France. Meanwhile, back in the peloton, Lance and Alberto riding very calm, cool, and collected.
They both looked incredibly comfortable. Christian Vande Velde in that group as well. It would be Cadel Evans who would be the first to attack of the overall contenders.
A new style for Cadel Evans. He's a long way down on GC. This is what he needs to do throughout the mountain stages and the time trials, and that's to attack flat out, try to see if he can get some time back. Lance Armstrong covering that acceleration without too much trouble.
So it would be Contador and Lance side by side, and then Contador would launch forward, leaving everyone in the dust.
Well, Andreas Kloden, interestingly enough, is the man on the front of that doing the tempo, so it's a little bit of a strange situation when your own teammate goes ahead and attacks you. That might not work out throughout the whole tour for Contador.
Once he had the gap, a quick look behind, Alberto knew he was free to fly to the finish. And speaking of flying, Bryce Fayou, his first professional win, and he does it in one of the hardest climbs in Tour history.
This will be remembered for the day that Bryce Fayou won his first Tour de France stage, and also Rinaldo Nocentini getting his first yellow jersey, and that is a great result for those two very small French teams.
At the end of the stage, Alberto Contador would still be dancing on the pedals, as Phil Liggett would say. His disadvantage behind the leader, 3:26, but he would be well ahead of his teammates, including Lance Armstrong.
About a 20-second advantage in the last couple of kilometers, so a good acceleration, but he didn't keep going away. He was unable to continue that acceleration, so we'll have to see how his form is the rest of the tour.
As you mentioned, Rinaldo Nocentini puts on the maillot jaune for the first time in his career. Now the question is, how long will he be able to keep it? Those are your Wells Fargo highlights from stage number 7. We now give you the Hampton Hotels overall standings. Nocentini in front of Contador and Armstrong, and look at that gap, Bob. Only 2 seconds separate the Astana teammates.
And Levi Leipheimer, he's in 4th. Bradley Wiggins from Garmin Slipstream in 5th place, had a great climb also.
Kloden is in 6th position for Astana. Tony Martin putting together a great ride so far this year. Christian Vandeveld moves up into 8th. Andy Schleck now in 9th, and Vincenzo Nibali rounds out your top 10.
Frank Schleck riding well in the mountains. Carlos Sastre, he did not improve on that deficit. He's still almost 3 minutes behind. Cadel Evans over 3 minutes behind. Kim Kirkin in the 20th slot. And Denny Menchov 5+ minutes down already.
David Zabriskie and George Hincapie, 2 Americans in 35th and 36th. Cancellara drops all the way back to 39th, 5 minutes and 37 seconds behind. We mentioned this yesterday, Bob, but it bears repeating. Lost perhaps in this big debate between Alberto Contador and Lance Armstrong is that Lance looked very comfortable on that climb yesterday.
Well, there was a lot of questions about Lance's form coming into the Tour de France. He had a pretty bad break to his collarbone a few months ago, and we had to see if he had recuperated from that by the time of the Giro d'Italia in the month of May in Italy, the Tour of Italy. Lance was not climbing exceptionally well, though, so there were still a lot of questions about whether or not Lance had come to full fitness in the Tour, but they were answered pretty quickly. This is Cadel Evans, one of the best in the business, 2nd in last year's Tour. 4th man, you can see Lance just shooting across that gap without too much trouble at all, being able to cover that acceleration from both Cadel Evans and Andy Schleck. One thing you don't do is chase your teammates, so we'll have to see if Lance is able to counter the moves by Alberto Contador, but for the rest of the contenders in the field, Lance Armstrong, no trouble at all handling those accelerations in the big mountains.
It was good to see, wasn't it, Cadel Evans after his success in the Dauphiné. People have said he has to accelerate and he has to attack, and he did.
Oh, yes, it was great to see Cadel Evans out there being aggressive. One of the knocks against Cadel in the past is that he sits on the wheels, he follows throughout the Tour. That's not the best way to win the Tour de France. You have to be able to attack, so maybe we'll see some fighting spirit from Cadel Evans.
Today's first climb is the highest point of this year's Tour, and the riders having to face it first off the line. You can bet there will be some shredded legs by the finish. Stage 8 will not be a day off for anyone.
The 2009 Tour de France pre-race on Versus is presented by Cadillac.
Choosing a car is like trying on a dress. As soon as you slip into it, you know it's the one. But you still turn around to see the back. Because let's face it, you want them to hate to see you go, but love to watch you leave.
Introducing the all-new Cadillac CTS Sport Wagon.
Tuesday, Versus delivers sports from soup to nuts.
It's faster, it's harder, it's stronger. You need juice!
First at 11, no one in the sports world can hide from Sports Soup's Matt Eisman.
Do you plan on playing in the NFL next year?
baby.
Can't waffle on that.
Then,
Save it for your mama.
pride and passion mix with a dose of insanity when the fans take over on Fanarchy.
I'm gonna eat this cat.
Sports Soup and Fanarchy. Tuesday night, only on Versus.
Two jerseys changed, but two remain the same. New man in yellow, Ronaldo Nocentini, and a new man in polka dots, Bryce Fayeux, compliments of his stage win. Cavendish in green and Tony Martin in white. We welcome you back to our Cadillac pre-race show, and it's time to welcome in once again our prognosticators of the Pyrenees, Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwen. Now, before we get to more pressing matters, guys, Phil, 37 years of covering the Tour, and this morning you tell me you experienced a first.
Unbelievable. We actually walked from our... It's just over there, by the way, behind those trees. 20 minutes it took us to walk to the start this morning. I hope it doesn't catch on, Craig, because... I felt it was on holiday for a change.
And you actually you thought we could have taken a shorter route to get here, except your partner was using the GPS.
As soon as he put it round the right way, we walked in the general direction of the finish line. Before that, we were almost back at the start line.
No, the great thing is Phil is always right, and when Phil is wrong, actually he's right.
But just the opposite way. Well, let the debate begin, gentlemen, or should I say continue, because after we saw these actions, everyone started talking. Paul, should Alberto Contador have attacked at the finish yesterday?
Well, I suppose we have to take a little bit of notice of the words of a gentleman by the name of Eddie Merckx, who I think we all regard as being the greatest professional cyclist of all time. And he said afterwards he didn't think it was right for Alberto Contador to attack his own teammates who were actually setting the pace at the front. But I think one thing it did reveal was that if Alberto Contador attacked the way he did, with 2-3 teammates setting the tempo on the front, the reason he did that was because he's not confident. He did it, I think, because he feels that his biggest challenger in this Tour de France is still Lance Armstrong, his own teammate.
Well, I'm surprised at Eddie saying that, Paul. I didn't know he'd said that, actually, because he was a man who would have done just the same, but he'd probably gained about 5 minutes because he was that good. In all fairness, I can't blame Alberto for stealing a few seconds. It's in the bank. It's in the Astana bank. Don't forget, just before he attacked, there was a flurry of attacks from the rivals. Lance was following them, and so too was Alberto, and he's just thought, I'm going. But I don't think he was on great form. I think he never, once he opened the gap, he never stretched it. But when we heard from Lance afterwards, although Lance said for the press all the right things, I think deep down he was pretty annoyed about that.
I think that when Eddie Merckx chastises you, you should take that to heart.
Well, you should know, Bob.
No, actually, I had the honor of riding on Eddie Merckx bikes during my career, and one time one of his Belgian assistants had come to fit us for the bikes, and Eddie Merckx told him that I reminded him of a professional called Italo Zilioli, a good Italian rider during Eddie Merckx's reign, and his assistant said, yeah, but Bobka doesn't have the same results. And Eddie said, hey, man, take it easy. Bobke is the man.
Now,
and
back
his
to the
assistant
point.
was like,
Yeah, so the point was?
I can't remember. The point is, do not disagree with Eddie Merckx.
So Contador shouldn't have attacked, is what you're saying, really?
Not after your teammates have pulled the whole climb, and the gains are going to be just a few seconds at the end of the day. It's no reason to put that sort of enmity within the team atmosphere.
Wow.
You're going to need those guys the whole rest of the Tour de France to work for you, should you get the yellow jersey. So not a very good tactic. And
But he hasn't
Contador
damaged anybody. He's just put more money in the bank and he's edged it into a second place. It's strong.
Let me take the word of another Merckx, and this in fact was Axel Merckx. He commented yesterday about the move by Alberto Contador and said it was a clever move to get himself a few more seconds, but to win the Tour de France you have to have teammates. And that little move yesterday, if there is any animosity between Alberto Contador and Lance Armstrong, that little move yesterday might actually have increased the animosity in the team.
No matter what.
And let me tell you, Craig, guess who's staying in our hotel tonight?
Oh, that's right. Wait,
The
you can't.
gendarmes,
Yeah, the gendarmes again.
The police
I
are
don't know
there.
that we can
We might need
let
the
this
gendarmes
information
because
out.
Lance and Alberto are staying in our hotel. This doesn't happen very often. So I'm only saying nice things about Lance Armstrong all day, just in case he checks in on what we've said on television.
I noticed the walls were pretty thin last night. Maybe we can all just put the glass up to the wall and try to get the secret story. Well, whatever happens, it's going to be played out on the road. Today, another day where the climbers are going to need their legs, Paul.
Yeah, it's a lot of climbing today, but I think the climbs are situated maybe a little bit too far from the finish for any big changes in the overall standings. The riders are going to leave Andorra behind them at the start of the day, but it's straight uphill because the first thing that they have on the menu of the hors d'oeuvre of the day is the Port d'Envalira at 2,400 meters, and then a massive long descent into France. Col de Port is a reasonably hard climb, but the Col d'Agnès at the end is a very difficult climb with a tricky descent before they then charge down the long valley road, which I think if anybody is left behind, they've got a chance here to recuperate and get back into the main field. There you can see the climbs we go over, a typical Pyrenean stage.
But it's 25 miles of flat on the running today, so Contador won't be attacking Lance Armstrong. Amazingly, this is only the first time we've ever finished in Saint-Gaudens, and yet we come through it almost on an annual basis. About the distance between Columbus and Cincinnati in Ohio, rather. Yeah, well, I don't know America like you.
Well, I don't know America very well, like Bob.
I do
know Ohio is not quite on an island.
That's where I was born, actually, in Ohio. So I do know Ohio
I learn something every
pretty
day.
darn well. So
I can't believe it.
If you're watching in Ohio, hello, I'll be back soon. Maybe. All right, well, the dissension in Astana is well documented, but there's no dissension among us, is there? Even although our competition is almost as close as the team dynamics of Astana. So it's time for our Cadillac performance predictions. No change in the scoreboard after yesterday. I believe that breakaway caused us to not score points and caused us to scratch our heads a little bit, but at least that allowed me to keep the yellow jersey for another day. So we'll keep it over here,
we
well
were all
away.
equal first yesterday. Don't forget that. We were all equal first yesterday. I've actually had a
Very
winner.
good point.
Or
I
equal last.
I like that optimistic spin on everything.
Oh, yes.
Or equal last.
Don't go that way. Come on, Paul. You're not supposed to do that. Speaking
What's
of
your pick? And who's
first,
picking first? Oh,
I
me.
was just going to say, we're
Yeah.
back to Phil Liggett in the #1 position.
When these guys pick first, it's easy. They call the sprinters on the flat stage, everybody goes to Mark Cavendish. Now I've got a stage like today. There could be 70 guys win this race today because I think they'll come off the mountains in probably quite a big group. And I've made a huge mistake in picking Andy Schleck, but the producer wouldn't let me change it 5 minutes ago, so I'll have to go with Andy Schleck. I just feel he might try to nip away in the run into the finish as he comes across Saint-Giron. One thing's for sure, they won't let him gain much because he's still regarded as a likely winner overall of this Tour de France. But nonetheless, I like Andy to win because he's a nice guy too.
How many quantifiers were there in what Phil just gave as his pick? I mean, I lost track at
I've used a whole lot for the next 2
first
weeks.
hand. Well, I like the Luxembourg idea. I just went with a different rider today. Kim Kierken is going to be my pick, and here's why. The Columbia High Road HTC rider has been proving and improving his form throughout this tour. Of course, last year that run in the yellow jersey had an injury at the start of this year, but he's coming good, and now could be a perfect day. He's about 3 minutes back on GC, so hopefully the peloton gives him a little leeway, and even if they don't, Kierken's got a pretty good finishing kick if he's in that bunch. Paul, who do you like?
Well, you know, Phil's probably right. I think it is going to be a large group, but it's difficult to pick on a day like this where 40, 50, 60 riders could come up with the win. But I reckon, you know, the Italians have not had a great deal of success, and all of a sudden they've moved into the overall lead with Nocentini. So I'm going to go for an Italian today. Franco Pellizotti is a man who will accompany anybody over the big climbs of the day, and when they come down towards the sprint at the end, he's a man who I think could create the big surprise and come out of the pack and get himself a victory.
I agree with his theory, but he picked the wrong rider.
Well, and before we get to Bob's pick, how about that hair of Pellizotti?
Love the hair.
That
Love
is
it.
some good Italian hair right there. Bob,
Don't make
you
Bob
though,
jealous.
Spanish flair. Spanish flair, maybe a day or two late, but you're going with that theme.
I'm going to go with the Spanish flair. A day late, but that's all right. You look at a team like B-Box, small budget, Agri-Tubel, small budget, even smaller, and they've won stages. I think the director of K Department is going to say, wait a minute, guys, what are we paying you to be here for? They're going to launch Luis Leon Sanchez into the breakaway and do what he did very similar to last year. Got a stage win for him. Barricade upon you. He's won Paris-Nice earlier this year. He's got good form. Watch for him to go into the move.
Picking in 4th place, seal of approval. That is a good pick today.
I should have thought that.
I enjoyed my 4th pick a couple days ago, that's for sure. Bottom line, we were all skunked yesterday. Fingers crossed, our experts and even myself, that doesn't happen again today. Well, last year, a stage finished in the town of Foix, just a few clicks down the road. Today, Saint-Gaudens welcomes the riders of the Tour for the first time finish in town's history.
The 2009 Tour de France pre-race on Versus is presented by Cadillac.
We need to send an expert.
A walking, talking, know-it-all.
Expert. A guru. How about Wu? Wu will do.
Where to?
First stop, Peru.
Then send Wu to Kathmandu.
What's next?
Timbuktu.
And area code 212. So Timbuktu, Kathmandu, Peru, and 212?
All by 2:30.
Not a problem.
Need an expert? Push a button. That's the human network effect. Learn more at cisco.com/newways.
When your engine's running clean, you feel it. And Pennzoil Motor Oil actively cleans out up to 15% of sludge the first time you use it. So feel the clean. Not just oil, Pennzoil.
Hi, there aren't any towels in my room.
Continue.
Friendly service. Real value from your friends at Hampton.
Y'all loving your McCafe experience? Good, because here's something else to love. Free McCafe Mondays at McDonald's. Enjoy a sweet, scintillating sample of chocolate bliss that'll leave you shivering for more, and you thought we couldn't get any cooler. Or warm your soul with a chocolate and coffee combo that'll send you to mocha heaven. Only thing better is that it's free. They give me the light, so I give you McCafe.
Hi, may I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for car insurance that isn't going to break the bank.
You're in the right place. Only Progressive gives you the option to name your price. Here.
A price gun?
Mm-hmm.
So I tell you what I want to pay.
And we build you a policy to fit your budget.
That's cool. Feel so empowered.
Power to the people!
The option to name your price. New and only from Progressive.
There's more excitement coming to Blackhawk. Are you ready for Blackhawk's 24-hour fun? Blackhawk, bet up to $100. Are you ready for the thrill of craps and roulette? Same Blackhawk, more ways to win. Now playing.
What's up, Kat? I'm reading an article about that new show, It's On, with Alexa Chung.
What? Alexa's live show will allow her to say and do whatever she wants.
True that.
Then why are you wasting your time?
Because that jacket she's wearing is fierce.
I saw it first.
It's On with Alexa Chung, weekdays at noon.
For 54 holes of Denver's most amazing mini-golf, powerful electric go-karts, and dueling dragsters, make it a day at Adventure Golf and Raceway. Come live the adventure today.
Yesterday, the story of the yellow jersey unfolded on the mountains of Andorra. The Spanish flags will run with this one now because this is Alberto Contador. Did you see the way he flew away from the field?
When you got a guy away, I mean, there's, like I've said all along, my obligation is to the team, and that's bike racing.
Their teammate Levi Leipheimer and fellow American rider Christian van der Velde held their own as well as they parleyed with the powerhouses of the Tour, adding high marks to the already stellar US contingency. Today, the saga for the overall league continues as Lance Armstrong and Alberto Contador continue to duel for leadership of their team and the entire Tour. There is no rest for the weary as we bring you part 2 of the Pyrenean Tale. Join us for all of the beauty, all of the drama, and all of the history that is the Tour de France. Yes, it's day 2 of 3 in the Pyrenees. It's goodbye to Andorra now as the riders go back into France. They're coming home today. 177 riders setting off from the Principality for what is a glorious day, heading for Saint-Gaudens. And strangely enough, the race had never finished here before, although it's often passed by. So they're making a special job of that finishing line in a most beautiful town here in the department of the Ariège. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our extended coverage here on Versus Stage 8 of the Tour de France in the Pyrenees. I'm Phil Liggett. This is Paul Sherwen. Well, I hope you were watching yesterday. The Battle of Arcolis brought most of the main contenders up the hill together. Just before the finish, Alberto Contador snatched a few seconds. Why would he do that?
I think pretty much just a psychological move. Nobody else really showed anything at all, Phil, because all of the main contenders finished together in that pack just behind Alberto Contador. One man, though, did tell me something very special. Lance Armstrong is ready. He knows how to handle a high mountains, as he did way back in 2005, and he will do battle in this Tour de France right down to the very end. He really wants to win this.
That's for sure. Well, let's have a look where the main contenders sit at the moment behind the new leader, Rinaldo Nocentini. Contador, Armstrong, Leipheimer, all teammates and separated by just 33 seconds in that order. Christian van der Velde, who was 4th in the race last year, he sits in 8th place, 1:24 back. Last year's winner, Carlos Sastre, is looking for a bit of time at this stage, 2 minutes 52 behind in 15th place, while Cadel Evans is looking for 3 minutes and 7 seconds. Now, yesterday, it was a French winner, the second of the Tour so far, and this fella, Brice Feylieu, winning his first stage of the Tour de France, but at the same time getting 40 points in the King of the Mountains competition, and so he pulls on the leader's polka dot jersey. This is how it stands today for Feylieu. He picked up another 9 out on course as well, so he's got 49 points. Riblon, who won all of the climbs out on course, has a total of 46, and Christophe Kern, second yesterday, he also has 46. Paul, how many points available today?
Quite a lot of points available on today's stage. There are 2 first category climbs, and you get 15 points for being the first over those climbs, and there's 1 second category climb, and you get 10 points for going over there in first place. However, if the climb and the last climb is a first category, is towards the end, then the points on that occasion are doubled, so quite a few points to be gained.
Let's begin with our Nature Valley stage reset of the story so far. Down at the start, there he is in his polka dot jersey, Brice Feylieu. The green sprinters jersey held by Mark Cavendish. The new yellow jersey, Rinaldo Nocentini. The white jersey there by Tony Martin. As they roll away, as always, Paul, no need to hurry out of Andorra because there's a big hill round the corner.
Yes, but as soon as they reached the actual start of the race, they were on the foot of the Port de Envolira. And I tell you what, everybody wanted to get out on the attack. A bit of a surprise that it was still going for the moves, Team Agri-Turbel.
So Lance Armstrong and Alberto Contador under pressure right from the gun today. A breakaway forming. Sandy Cassar, the leader of the Française des Jeux team, getting away on the climb. But more importantly than that, behind him, Cadel Evans has also attacked, taking with him a group of riders here. It's going to be a busy day in the Pyrenees.
It certainly is. Cadel Evans is a man who's said that he's not going to lay down arms in this event until he gets to Paris. He starts the day 18th overall. He's looking for over 3 minutes. But once they got to the summit of the climb, Sandy Cassar was still in the lead, but there was a smaller group forming behind of some pretty serious contenders.
Cadel Evans, the big worry, of course, as far as the rest is concerned, but the sprint being won here by Christophe Kern, who finished second on the stage on Arcolis yesterday. So he has actually taken enough points to become the new leader now in the King of the Mountains competition. Egoy Martinez was 3rd, Cadel Evans was 4th. That's the story so far. That's on Nature Valley stage reset. Glorious pictures again on the Tour de France, and I hope you're all watching this in high definition. That's how we're sending them to you this year from the Tour. Check your listings, and that'll give you some more information on that. The weather today, we're getting warm again now as we turn our back on the other countries of the Tour de France. 59 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to get even warmer into the mid-70s by the time we get to the finish. Well, rider update for you. Just abandoned on the climb, Eduardo Gonzalo. A little bit of a surprise. I think he was injured when he fell off in Barcelona because he was 30th, just over 32nd, I think, in the Tour de France last year. So bad luck for Eduardo. 175 riders are left of the 180. 15 teams still have all 9 men. There were 20 teams on the start. So 5 teams have each lost a man.
But
now let's get Paul.
Pretty serious race today, though, Phil, because despite all that, we've got a rather interesting race situation. We've got a number of riders out on the course as well, where we are on the pulse, and what I mean by that, with Christian Sorensen, Brian Van Borg, Stefan Auger and Carlos Borreda will get into their heart rate monitors at times during the race just to see exactly how tough today's race is.
Well, now we're with live pictures. The sun is high in the sky. A little bit of a problem here because Cancellara is not happy at the way Cadel Evans is driving the breakaway. And yes, Fabian Cancellara, the yellow jersey for the first 6 days of this race, is in the breakaway. There is number 11. He's gone to the back now. He's fed up with them all, I think. This is a very strong 10-man breakaway. Kassar was caught 49 kilometers into the stage. Torhushoff came across. He was the last man to join with George Hincapie, Fabian Cancellara and Juan Antonio Fletcher, and they joined up front Sandy Kassar, Cadel Evans, David Zabriskie, Igor Martinez and Vladimir Efakim and Christoph Kern. That's the 10.
But on the front end of the main field, a bit of a surprise because the team that has the yellow jersey are not defending currently. They've got Efemkin in the break, and that's probably one of the riders they felt could take over the overall lead if this break was to succeed. So Team Astana have come to the front, and they're laying down the law again. Hard to believe that we're only really into the first hour and a half of racing, Phil, and we've got such a race on our hands already.
They have absolutely flown today, Paul. I mean, despite the 23-kilometer climb of the Porta d'Onvalira, which they really raced up, which saw the end of poor old Eduardo. He got off his bike, Eduardo Gonzalo. Other riders have been dropped. Mark Cavendish and Tom Bonan dropped at the very start of the climb. We don't know where they are, but as far as we know, they're behind the race today. It's going to be a long day for those guys. But the chase back by Lance Armstrong's, and I better say Alberto Contador's Astana team, are bringing it down to about 20 seconds at the moment. We're dropping into the valleys, couple of sprints there, and then it's up to the second category climb of the Col de Port.
Textbook move going forward here. You can just see there at the top, that is Juan Antonio Fletcher. He knows that the main field are starting to come back. They're around about 10 to 20 seconds behind. There they are. It's not very much. Juan Antonio Fletcher has felt that this is the opportunity for him to fly the coupe. The neutral service car coming out of the gap there. Now this is the moment that Fletcher has to keep the hammer down if he's going to open up the gap, and once they catch Cadel Evans, I think we'll shut off, and this man could very easily build himself up a massive big lead.
Well, he must be crazy to plan on going alone for the rest of today's race with two more Pyrenean giants ahead before the long flat run down into Saint-Gaudens. Well, it's virtually all downhill once we're over the top of the Col d'Agnès, which is quite a steep first category climb. The team are hunting to bring Cadel Evans back to heel. Hats off to Cadel Evans, Paul. He attacked from the gun today.
Well, I think Cadel has proved to be a completely different bike rider, Phil, in the Tour de France, and of course in this season as well, because he has gone out very aggressive. We saw him in the Dauphiné Libéré at the start of the Tour and the start of the year, and then after that we've just seen him a couple of times in this race come out and attack to try and pull himself back up into, first of all, a podium position and then possibly a Tour contenders position.
Well, this is Lance Armstrong and his Astana team driving on here. Again, another example of how strange this race is. The team the race is being led by the Italian Rinaldo Nocentini. He's on a French AG2R team, and Cadel Evans is shooting off at the road at the moment. But, you know, they're not even defending for the yellow jersey. It's all Armstrong trying to do. That's Cancellara. Yeah. Cancellara, who has actually broken away. If they can rid themselves of Cadel Evans, they know they've got a chance here to go out for the day. That's for sure. A very interesting start to the day. And you guys over on the West Coast, stay with us, and thanks for getting up and joining us.
Well, Fabian Cancellara, let's not forget, this is the man who led the Tour de France from Monaco onwards. This is the remnants of the group. Cadel Evans on the right-hand side there with the yellow front to his bike. He's the man that they wanted to pull back into the fold. It's all over now, so I think we're going to see a fraction of time out for the next few kilometers.
Yes, 113 kilometers to go, so that's 63 kilometers gone. It was an epic chase, but they're all brought to heel. Those that are wanted. Interesting to see now if the others are allowed a little bit of a lead.
Acceleration coming from Euskaltel-Euskadi. Here they wanted to have a man in the breakaway this afternoon, but it's a little bit too late once it's all come back together and two guys have jumped out of the front of the pack.
Well, we're out of breath already on this beautiful day in the Pyrenees. A good attack by Cadel Evans. Well done today for him. As the riders now head on to the next challenge day, which is the Col de Port. We'll see you in a moment.
Kelly Saunders Nature Valley. The place that inspires her to go faster and slower. Elk Mountains, Colorado. Where's yours? 100% natural Nature Valley granola bars. The taste nature intended.
Roundup Extended Control does 2 jobs at once. 1. Kills weeds to the root. 2. Forms a barrier, preventing new ones for up to 4 months. Roundup Extended Control.
Nanomolecular what? A force field that prevents sludge.
Tired of the claims? Get a guarantee. Only Valvoline guarantees your engine up to 300,000 miles. Get Valvoline. Get guaranteed.
At TireRack.com, we stock more tires than anyone else, anywhere. Nearly 1 million tires. But we don't just stock them, we test them. And we post user reviews so you can find which tires are the best for you and your car. One more way, Tire Rack is revolutionizing the way you buy tires. Right now, when you buy a set of 4 select BF Goodrich tires, get a $50 Visa prepaid card. For details, go to TireRack.com/TV. Research, buy, deliver, install.
The relationship you have with your car isn't so different from your other relationships. Some burn hot and fast, but don't last very long. Some burn for a while, but don't throw much heat. And some smolder beautifully for a long time.
The award-winning Cadillac CTS sedan. And coming soon, the all-new CTS Sport Wagon.
When it comes to things you care about, leave nothing to chance. Travelers, insurance for auto, home, and business.
The 2009 Tour de France on Versus is brought to you by Nature Valley Granola Bars, the taste nature intended. And by Travelers, insurance in sync.
Welcome back, and just in time, because just ahead on the road is the first sprint of the day. It's a Luznac, and this is important because the leaders are split up since the catch of Cadell Evans. Tor Hushoff is in this chase, and there he goes for the attack ball. If he gets 6 points here, he becomes the green jersey on the road.
Yeah, he's actually only looking for a single point to overtake Mark Cavendish in that green jersey points classification. George Hincapie was hoping to get across the line in front of Hushoff, but the power that the big Norwegian came out of that pack, Phil, nobody was going to challenge him at all. So this is a competition, I think, which is going to start to warm up once we get back to the flat stages.
Amazing. Hushoff getting it there. There's the 6 points for the green jersey. He leads by 5 now. Hincapie second, and Juan Antonio Fletcher. This is the overall in the race now. Remember, Mark Cavendish is a long way behind as far as we know today. 111 for Hushoff, 106 for Cavendish, 66 back to Cholik. It's a 2-horse race at the moment. I think Cavendish more concerned. He's staying with the race right now. You might see if you can pick out an all-green jersey in here, and that'll be the indication he rejoined, but we didn't hear any announcement.
I didn't hear anything on race radio, and I think Mark Cavendish for the moment is probably quite a long way behind the main field with a number of the other big sprinters. A lot of people have said that the big favorite for the green jersey points classification is Tor Hushoff because of stages like this, where with his experience and his age he can get over a couple of climbs and pick up points on the days when Mark Cavendish can't.
Well, Fabian Cancellara has just joined onto the back of that group, so we've got 6 riders up front now. What an active day of racing this is, because these 6 men have come out of the original break of 10. They were hunting down 2 riders, Igor Martinez and Cadell Evans. They got them and the others attacked, and they're not so interested now because the time gaps to them are much, much larger. For example, Cancellara, the previous leader until yesterday, he conceded 9 minutes yesterday, so he's not a worry at the moment.
The most important man for them to catch was Cadel Evans, because give Cadel Evans a little bit of an advantage on a day like this, and he can put himself back into a position of challenger at the Tour de France. That is why Team Astana came to the front and nailed back that breakaway. Once they'd caught Cadel Evans, they're less concerned about anybody else.
Number 41 there is Denis Menchov, sitting at the back of the peloton. It's been a rough opening week for him, and we no longer talk about him as a possible winner of this race after his crash in the team time trial and a poor time by the team. But this is a good move, and just to confirm the names: Juan Antonio Fletcher, Vladimir Efekin, Thor Hushoff, George Hincapie, Sandy Cassar, Fabian Cancellara. The Agritubel wildcard teams, they're launching attack after attack. This looks like Romain Feliu. Is it?
It may well be Cyril Dessel, I think.
Cyril Dessel. He'd be the obvious choice because Romain is really a sprinter rather than a climber.
And in fact, I think the leading group, Phil, now will try and stay clear for the next 17 kilometres if they can, because there's actually another sprint point available, and that is exactly what Thor Hushoff would like to try and stay clear for, to get himself another 6 points in that green jersey competition.
This is an incredibly quick journey. There's Lance Armstrong and the new leader of the King of the Mountains alongside him, Brice Feliu. Sorry, that's Alberto Contador rather, and Brice Feliu is alongside him. But they've done their job and got Cadel back to heel. They're not going to worry about anybody in that lead group just for the moment.
I think, as Lance Armstrong himself said yesterday, Phil, you have to bear in mind there was a little bit of an attack by Alberto Contador yesterday on the stage, but the Tour de France is a 3-week bike race, and this race, I feel, won't be decided until we actually get to the slopes of the Mont Ventoux. Interestingly, Armstrong and Contador have leapfrogged each other on a number of these stages, but it really could come to a showdown between the two of them on the final Saturday of the event.
Best placed in the breakaway is the AG2R Vladimir Efekin. He's 4 minutes and 36 seconds behind, but that's behind his own teammate who's in yellow now, which is Ronaldo Nocentini. So they're not going to worry too much if they were swapping yellow jerseys but keeping it in the team. Something perhaps Astana might want to take note of for the days that lie ahead. Here is Fabian Cancellara. He's chased across on his own, hit the front runners. We've got 6 of them now, and quite clearly the composition may not be finished yet because they're trying to shake it up. Looks like Leon Sanchez trying to come across at the back of these two.
Well, he's a man not scared to go out on long breakaways. He's got himself slightly off the front end of the main field. Now, if you have a look at the front end of that pack, Phil, there is a big split because they've taken all of the team cars out, and the reason for that is there's a small group of riders trying to recover and get themselves back into the main field. A group of riders who were dropped on that first climb of the day, the Porta en Valera. This is what the judges do once they see a group starting to come back. They'll empty out the gap behind the peloton.
They call it making a barrage, and quite right, because those riders were dropped for inability to climb, so they have dropped back. Okay, well, let's remind you for the first time today of our Cadillac Ride of Your Life sweepstakes. You log on to versus.com/Ride of Your Life. You do it every day during the Tour de France. It's a chance to win a trip for 2 to the 2010 Tour de France, a Cervelo S2 bike, and either a yellow jersey or a polka dot jersey signed by us all here on Versus. And the word you want there is climb. You need that to get into the system. So this is the world's largest open cast talc quarry. Well, we could do with some of that today. It's getting quite hot up here in the commentary box. We'll see you back here in just a moment.
When the light comes on, just come in.
This week, Manny, Mo, and Jack bring you the Pep Boys Tire Celebration. Buy 1 tire for as low as $24.99. Buy any 2 tires, get a free oil change. Buy any 3 tires and get the 4th tire free. Through Sunday, get a Pennzoil do-it-yourself oil change, just $9.99. When the light comes on, just come in.
Pep Boys does everything for less.
Call 1-800-PEP-BOYS or visit pepboys.com.
12 summers of boat hauling. 6 minutes to soccer practice. 63 miles of commuting daily. For any extreme, from the road to the racetrack, nothing beats Mobil 1, the official motor oil of NASCAR, and the choice of over half of all NASCAR teams. So put some NASCAR in your car with the One, Mobil 1.
It's right here. It's easy. It's the money you could be saving with Geico. It's right here. It's easy. It's the money you could be saving with Geico.
Through the years, many things pass from father to son, like Aqua Velva Aftershave. Smells great, cools, firms, and tones. Cool. Aqua Velva, men get it. Wake up your whiskers with Electric Shave. Electric Shave! Stands up whiskers for an up to 52% closer shave.
Man, that was close.
Electric Shave. Blade close, electric smooth.
For over 30 years, we've been actively involved in the community here at American Furniture Warehouse. Right now, there are 10 million people in the U.S. who have cancer. That's why it's great to know that there are places like City of Hope Cancer Center that are on fast track with research to find a cure. The National Home Furnishings industry has a long history of supporting City of Hope. This year, we raised thousands of dollars that'll go directly to the labs where cures will be found. Find out more at www.cityofhope.org. Thank you.
Delivers sports from soup.
Sports soup for everyone.
To nuts. First at 11. No one in the sports world can hide from Sports Soup's Matt Eisman. Then, pride and passion mix with a dose of insanity when the fans take over on Fanarchy.
I'm gonna eat this cat.
Sports Soup and Fanarchy. Tuesday night, only on Versus.
Welcome back. We're looking out across the Pyrenees here. Those 6 riders are still clear, but not very far ahead of the field right now. And what we've just seen now, of course, is the polka dot jersey being worn last night by Brice Ferrieux, and it's now being led by Christophe Kern because he was second over the Port d'Envalira and 59 points. And Martinez, who was third up the climb, he's come up into second place, while Ferrieux has dropped down to third. He hasn't scored today yet. So the polka dot jersey is a competition which has been part of the Tour de France for around about 35 years, I think. Here it is now Paul Sherwen to tell us more about the King of the Mountains.
The majestic mountains of France, stunningly beautiful, shockingly dangerous. Most men dread the mountains, but some men do relish them. These are the climbers looking to soar into the polka dot jersey, symbol of the King of the Mountains classification at the Tour. Like the green jersey competition, the King of the Mountains chase is a race within the race amongst riders for supreme climbing bragging rights. Points are earned by riders first at each stage checkpoint. The larger the mountain, the greater the reward. Although the mountains classification began in 1933, the famous polka dot jersey this leader now wears was only introduced in 1975 by the request of its sponsor, a French chocolate maker. The riders of the Tour will climb over 1,000 kilometers in hopes of ascending to the top of the podium in Paris to claim the polka dot King of the Mountains jersey.
So there we are, polka dot in Paris. Well, I wonder if Christophe Kern will manage the rest of the hills today. It's worn by the rider who gains the most points. There are 5 categories of climbs, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and of course all category, which is beyond the first category climb. Most points for that, and the points are awarded on the increase according to the category of that climb. Back to the action. There's the breakaway, still clear, but they've been strengthened in the last 2 or 3 minutes by 2 riders coming up, Paul. Jose Luis Sanchez has come up, and he's brought up with him Ignatieff, and also Sebastian Rosler has reached them.
Well, it's starting to look like a fairly serious group, but there's still not much of a gap back down to the main field. In fact, it's still hovering at around about the 20-second margin. Although the fact is, Phil, that there are not too many riders in this group are really dangerous to the overall contenders, so they may well finally be allowed a little bit of freedom.
Now this has been shaking itself out for a few kilometres now, and without Cadell Evans, who is really wanted by the bunch and particularly by Team Astana, it is now beginning to look as though it might be allowed to run. If you look down at where these boys are in the overall positions, the best placed is the case to a Pawn rider, which is Luis Leon Sanchez. He's looking for 4 minutes 11 seconds in effect to be the next leader of the Tour de France. For the moment he hasn't got anything like that, so this might run for a little bit.
And it's a good solid working group with a number of riders who I'm quite sure will be prepared to set the pacemaking now that they don't have Cadell Evans in this group anymore. However, at the back there you can see in the main field, Phil, there is still an awful lot of teams that are quite prepared to come forward and do the pacemaking. In second position there is the Irish national champion Nicholas Roach, and they've really pulled that main field out into a fairly long line. It has stretched out the advantage. It's now being reported at 40 seconds. Looking down here on the castle of Lourdes, dates back to the 10th and 11th centuries, and it used to be the stronghold of the Count of Foix, and that's a town that we will be circumnavigating a little bit later on this afternoon.
Well, another example of many chateaux here seeped in history down in this part of France. We're tucked underneath the Pyrenees here. Depending on which way you're going, it's either the exit or the gateway. Of course, the riders coming right through them to finish in Saint-Giron, but tomorrow they go back into them and then come out further up the road at up by Tarbes. There's the breakaway. It's now 10 strong. Mikel Astalosa has also reached them. That means now they're free to fly. And there's the man with most to gain just now. He's won the first set of points at the first sprint at Luznac, and he's now the leader on the road in the green sprinters jersey. So it's a good day so far for Thor Hushovd. One sprint to come in a few more minutes' time.
Times have changed, especially when it comes to owning a home. At Wells Fargo, we're with you when you're wondering if it's the right time for you to buy, when you're not sure what you should spend, and when you want to find the right opportunity for you and your family. We're with you when it's time to make a house your home. Wells Fargo. Together we'll go far.
Let's all paint the town red and white, black and brown. Watch the colors dry. They mix so well, it's no surprise. We are all in this together. Let's all build a home, gather up the friends you know. Somewhere we can go. We'll make it.
The hybrid for everyone is here. The Insight, designed and priced for us all, from Honda.
Here's Ryan getting ready to make his approach to the men's room.
Looks like he needs to go urgently.
True. And there's Casey about to drive, also to the men's room.
He has been going over and over.
They ought to see their doctors.
Could be male urinary symptoms due to BPH and enlarged prostate.
For many guys, prescription Flomax reduces their urinary symptoms due to BPH in 1 week.
And if their doctors do prescribe Flomax, they could get up to $40 off new or refill prescriptions.
So guys already on Flomax can also save. Only your doctor can tell if you have BPH, not a more serious condition like prostate cancer.
Avoid driving or hazardous tasks for 12 hours after your first dose or increase in dose, as a sudden drop in blood pressure may occur, rarely resulting in fainting.
If considering cataract surgery, tell your eye surgeon you've taken Flomax. Common side effects are runny nose, dizziness, and decrease in semen.
Ask your doctor if Flomax is right for you.
And call 877-4FLOMAX for more information and to see if you qualify for up to $40 off new or refill prescriptions.
For many men, Flomax can make a difference in 1 week.
When your engine's running clean, you feel it. And Pennzoil Motor Oil actively cleans out up to 15% of sludge the first time you use it. So feel the clean. Not just oil, Pennzoil.
Who's delivering these strawberry peanut butter M&Ms?
That big truck.
Hi, may I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for car insurance that isn't going to break the bank.
You're in the right place. Only Progressive gives you the option to name your price. Here.
A price gun?
Mm-hmm.
So I tell you what I want to pay.
And we build you a policy to fit your budget.
That's cool. Feel so empowered.
Power to the people.
The option to name your price. New and only from Progressive. Call or click today.
Well, all of the Americans in this race are going into the second week of the Tour de France pretty well, I think. Lance Armstrong, 8 seconds off yellow, is in third place. Leipheimer, his teammate, is in fourth. Christian van der Velde, remember, he had a crash last month in the Tour of Italy, riding superbly. He's holding 8th just now, a minute 24 back. Zabriskie's in the action every day. He's there too. George is in the breaker, has been. Tyler Farrar is a sprinter who's out good places, and Danny Pate. So the man in charge of Dave Zabriskie and Christian van der Velde is Matt White. Here he is now with Robbie Ventura.
A lot was made at last year's tour with Christian being isolated in the mountains. Bradley Wiggins was up there yesterday. Was that a surprise, and how valuable is that to the team?
It's super valuable. This year we've got two guys climbing very well, but it's not such a surprise if you follow the results the first 2 weeks of the Giro. Bradley was climbing in the first 20 for the first 2 weeks there before we deliberately shut him down a little bit in the last week to prepare for the tour, so it's not a surprise for us.
He not only made the lead group, but he actually attacked with 400 meters to go, according to Lance Armstrong. Were you surprised by that move?
No, not at all. Bradley's got great form, and so's Christian, and yeah, we've got certainly different playing cards that we had last year.
Christian's obviously coming onto form. His climbing legs are there. What are your expectations, long-term expectations, for him in the overall general classification?
None at the moment. We're just playing it day by day. I think the Pyrenees is somewhere where you won't gain so much time, but lose a little bit of time, but not with Christian, but with the race in general. I think the way that the climbs are in the Pyrenees are still a long way from the finish. I think we've got 50 minutes 50 minutes from the top of the last climb today, and maybe an hour and a half tomorrow after the Tourmalet. So they're not hilltop finishes, they're not super decisive climbs in the Pyrenees. I think more action is going to be seen in the Alps and the Pyrenees.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thanks very much. That's our Cisco insider there. Matt White knows all about the tactics. He's absolutely right. The mountains the next 2 days finished probably a little bit too far away from the finishing line, so the riders should come down in a reasonable sized bunch. So he'll look to keep Bradley Wiggins and Christian van der Velde in that front group as they race off and away from the Pyrenees. Looking here to Luis Leon Sanchez, and he's looking for a little bit of help by the moment, by the look of it at the moment, for the rest of the breakaway. Sanchez proving a little bit too strong too early here, Paul. He's still a long way to ride. 93 kilometres to go. We're getting down just outside a kilometre for the second sprint for that green jersey points. The one man who's going to try and nail 6 points a game will be Thor Hushovd, because he is in the breaker. Yes, he's over 27 minutes behind, but it's the points jersey he wants right now.
There are so many different races within the race at an event like the Tour de France. Of course, we always talk about the yellow jersey. That's the most famous of all of the competitions. But the sprinters have their own race, which is the green jersey competition, which is a battle that you have to go out and fight on every individual stage, even if it's just for a single point, because we've seen the Tour de France points competition be decided on the final day. And then the sprinters who are not so good on the flatlands, the climbers who are not so good on the flatlands, and we can see the climbers jersey right there, Phil, on the shoulders of Bryce Ferlu. They have to try and go over the top of the mountains in first positions to try and amass points for that race too.
Right, tensing up now as we close in on Thor Hushovd. He'll want those 6 points to see if he can do it. Now, George Hincapie is in this group. There he is in that yellowish jersey. He'll try to take on, I think, Hushovd for the points and reduce the amount he wins if he can, because he's trying to protect Mark Cavendish's situation in that green jersey competition. He's lining up there, 1, 2, 3. He's actually taken the wheel now of Thor Hushovd, and Hushovd knows it.
Well, George used to be a great sprinter in the early part of his career, and I think that's exactly what he's going to try and do. But you know, Thor Hushovd is going to be hyper motivated here, because this is a big coup for the sprinter from Norway, and let's not forget, a former winner of the green jersey points classification. And he knows on these stages, these mountainous stages, he's got a great chance of building up an advantage over Cavendish. Here he's starting the sprint. Hincapie's in second.
Hincapie's locked on there, but can he go over the God of Thunder? I don't think he can somehow, because he just rides away from George. So George gets second place again at the second sprint. Now the third sprint is on the other side of the Pyrenees today. It comes with 17 kilometres to race, so he's wise to pick them up now, because he may not be here for the last sprint of the day.
Yes, but for Thor Hushovd, he's grabbed himself 12 points so far, and he'll move into the lead in that race by 11 points over Mark Cavendish, and I think Cavendish will try and reverse that once we go back onto the flat stages. This is the town of Tarascon-sur-Ariège. There's the river Ariège just in the background, and it really is an incredibly beautiful river at 170 kilometres in length.
Yes, it is, and in fact we're in the Ariège now, this beautiful department of France. I think everybody loves being down here. It's narrow roads, hilly roads, foothills of the Pyrenees as well, and a lot of cyclists come down here to spend their summer holidays.
It actually, Phil, had some pretty serious reputations during the Second World War, because a lot of the resistance fighters in this area ended up becoming smugglers, because this was basically one of the easiest ways to get away from occupied France, across the borders, through the Pyrenees and into Spain and back to freedom.
That's right, or just go up over the hills and you can go back into Andorra if you wish. There's the results confirmed with Thor Hushoff, Georgine Cappi, Fabien Cancellara. They are the three riders scoring out there. Overall, by the way, Hushoff will now have 117 points in the green jersey. Mark Cavendish slips a little bit to 106, no score today. Gerald Chollick the same. He sits in third. So there we are. It's a quick visit to the feed zone here. We are motoring today. This is the feed in Talasson. It leaves us 85 kilometers to run today. Now the riders, the best time they were expected here was in local time, of course, at 14:38 in the afternoon. And they're grabbing those sacks with a 6-minute advantage over the fastest expected arrival time. We are flying through the Pyrenees today, but the man they wanted is back in the pack. These 10 are free to fly at the moment. We'll take a break.
The relationship you have with your car isn't so different from your other relationships. Some burn hot and fast, but don't last very long. Some burn for a while, but don't throw much heat. And some smolder beautifully for a long time.
The award-winning Cadillac CTS sedan. And coming soon, the all-new CTS Sport Wagon.
At TireRack.com, we don't just sell tires, we test them on our unique test track. Our results are honest, unbiased, and as real as it gets. Use this information to help decide which tires are right for you, your vehicle, how you drive it, and where you drive it. It's not just a test track, it's truth serum for tires. And it's only at Tire Rack, the Tire Rack Test Track. One more way, Tire Rack is revolutionizing the way you buy tires.
TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
Through the years, many things pass from father to son, like Aqua Velva Aftershave. Smells great, cools, firms, and tones. Cool. Aqua Velva, men get it.
Wake up your whiskers with Electric Shave. Electric Shave! Stands up whiskers for an up to 52% closer shave.
Man, that was close.
Electric Shave. Blade close. Electric smooth.
The fun is back, and your luck is changing. A new kind of action. A different kind of excitement. And it all adds up to real good times. Lady Luck is the newest and hottest casino to hit Black Hawk. Check us out for your chance to win big. Only 35 miles from downtown Denver. So get on board. Lady Luck Black Hawk. See you soon.
The right coverage isn't just about the car.
It's about who's in the passenger seat.
Coverage that's personal for people with freckles and mustard stains in hopes of catching a game ball.
Coverage that's smart when I buy it and even smarter when I need it. Join the thousands of us getting better auto coverage at a better price under the Travelers umbrella.
Get better coverage with Travelers and save an average of $383. To find an agent near you or to get a quote, visit Travelers.com or call 1-800-MY-COVERAGE.
Kelly Saunders Nature Valley. The place that inspires her to go faster and slower. Elk Mountains, Colorado. Where's yours? 100% natural Nature Valley granola bars. The taste nature intended.
Bicycle Magazine stages you can't miss. It's Bicycle Magazine stages on Versus. Despite being shorter than some of the other mountain stages, this might be the toughest pure climbing day of this year's Tour de France. From Bourg-Saint-Maurice to Le Grand-Bornand, it is stage 17. It will come to you live on July the 22nd, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 Central. And for more information, visit bicycling.com for exclusive tour commentary, analysis, interactive maps, and much more. There's that long straight road I was talking about earlier. This is the settling down of the breakaway now. There's still 10 riders just starting to nudge away now, heading towards the Col de Port. And there's the breakaways. Hushoff lost 27 minutes, but he's got the green jersey back today for the first time, in fact, this year. Cancellara lost 9 minutes yesterday, but because of all his time differences, he's only 5 overall. Juan Antonio Fletcher is there. Astolosa came up the last man to join. Hincapie 5 minutes down overall. Most gaining will come by number 118 to Luis Leon Sanchez. Started the day 4:10 back. I reckon very soon he'll be the race leader on the road. We'll see. So as they continue along the road here, there's the yellow jersey of Noscentini. Just sitting, watching and waiting, see how he reacts on the Col de Port when it comes along. The Col de Port, by the way, was first introduced into the Tour de France in 1910, and that was the year they introduced the Pyrenees to the Tour de France. And they were told then that they must be mad expecting cyclists to climb those high mountains. Well, they were all inspired then, and always the question, what does drive your inspiration? And here it is, presented by the Honda Insight. Let's now look at what drives your inspiration.
Things that inspire me, I suppose, my family, friends, girlfriend.
I also come from a great family, you know, they're a true inspiration as well.
I give up a lot of things to be a cyclist, but my family and friends and girlfriend give up a lot more than me. I drag my girlfriend over to Europe for 9 months of the year.
The family at home has to stay well. That's the first thing you have to look at, and when this is perfect, everything is coming by himself.
I don't ever feel like if I don't succeed, I'm gonna let them down, but I want to succeed to make them happy. Even though they'll be happy no matter what, it helps me motivated, you know?
Yes, the Honda Insight there. The riders don't often appear human, do they, the way they ride their bikes, but they do need people behind them to encourage them along the way. Well, there's not a lot of spectators on these roads around the Pyrenees at the moment. We're racing down the valley, heading towards the Col de Port. This is Sanchez, man with the most to gain if it continues, because shortly they'll be all through the feeding station, and then they'll be beginning to make their way up that second category climb of the Col de Port. And then that's quickly followed, Paul, by the much harder Col d'Agnès.
Yeah, the Col d'Agnès are 12.5 kilometers of climbing, an average gradient of about 8%, and a very tricky descent off it as well. But I think the fact that it's situated, Phil, at around about 40 kilometers to the finish doesn't lend itself for an attack from somebody like Armstrong or Contador. It could lend itself to attack once again by Cadel Evans, who to me really this year in the Tour de France seems to be like a man possessed. He's using every opportunity that he can to try and get himself back into this race. He's not going to give up.
No, and it's good to see. He has admitted, though, his team is not strong enough for the job in hand. So he's going to have to box clever and use other people's team riders when he can.
I kind of disagree with that, because I felt that his team were fairly well represented in that group yesterday. He had for a long time Charlie Wegelis alongside him, Jürgen van den Broek, and of course Sebastian Lang stayed up there for long periods of time. So I think the team is a lot more dedicated to Cadel Evans this year than maybe it was last year.
I think they're dedicated. I'm just not sure they can quite handle it for him, but we'll see. This is Brice Feliu in his King of the Mountains colours. Gained it yesterday and so far has lost it today. Nice KOM on the top two of his bike. They must have worked hard last night to get his bike ready. But at the moment, Christophe Kern, who's not now in the breakaway, has just snicked it at the top of the Port d'Envalira, with more points to come on the two remaining climbs.
Big George being very attentive there. Once he saw there was a slight split going off the front in the early kilometers of this Col de Port, he said, right, I'm coming across. Let's not forget, George is no stranger to the Pyrenees. He assisted Lance Armstrong on 7 occasions to win the Tour, but he also won his own stage of the Tour de France and Pla d'Adet, and that's not really very far away from where we are.
It is not, and it's just down the road.
Ignatiev is the man who has got, as the French would say, ants in his legs this afternoon, because he's the one looking to try and split that group up. He doesn't want to have too many passengers. Like Thor Hushovd, who certainly is not a great climber. He's done his job, I think, for the day. Vladimir Efimkin is there in second position, and he's not going to contribute at all to the pacemaking here, Phil, because he's a teammate of the yellow jersey, Ronaldo Nocentini.
This is the rider who finished second to Thomas Vogler. Vogler winning the stage from a long breakaway with Ignatiev amongst others by 7 seconds. Ignatiev was in the same time as the sprinters. They caught him on the line, but not with enough time to get by him. So he deservedly hung on and got second, but given the same time as the whole field. Dramatic finish as far as he was concerned, that's for sure. Very good prospect, very fast bike rider. He won't have any trouble at all while the roads stay flat anyway.
He certainly shouldn't have, and anyway, on the flatter part of the course, it looks like this group is starting to come back together. But you notice how George Hincapie was very attentive. So too was Juan Antonio Fletcher. But it's all back together again in this leading group of riders.
Interesting to see Fabian Cancellara into this breakaway. He's pulled on now his red jersey as national champion of Switzerland, because he's lost his yellow jersey pretty convincingly yesterday, I must say. But maybe. He finished yesterday 67th, and he conceded 9 minutes and 16 seconds yesterday, but it's put him only 5 minutes back overall. He might be trying to bounce back when we all write him off. Got to watch him. It's a very shrewd move.
Don't ever write off Fabian Cancellara, because he is an aggressive rider and he's in great form. Yes, he struggled a bit with the mountain yesterday, Phil, but I think here these are the kind of stages where if he rides himself into a breakaway, he could dream about getting that yellow jersey back again.
Absolutely. We've officially now just started the Col de Port, which tops out with 74 kilometers to go. It's an 11-kilometer climb. It's not a severe climb. It's a second category climb. It's steep enough, but they should climb it all as one.
Shouldn't be a problem. That's Luis Leon Sanchez, and again you see it's Mikhail Ignatiev. He keeps trying to jump off the front. He's not had a lot of wins as a professional bike rider. In fact, I don't think he's had any wins for the last 2 years, but he did win the gold medal in the Olympic Games in 2004 on the track in the points race, and he's sworn to his team management that he will go out on as many days as possible in this event to try and get himself a stage win. And he's causing once again a little bit of a split, and Hincapie is still very attentive, Phil, there, coming across the gap with Luis Leon Sanchez in second position.
Now it's interesting to see that they've started to ruffle a few feathers in this breakaway. A little bit of a surprise, but they've got Ignatiev back to heel, and I think Sebastian Rosler, who's a steady rider, has told him now to take it easy. He's just put the look on him there as Sanchez decides he wants more action. Let's see now, and there is a split there, and in fact that looks as though we've got Sebastian Rosler dropping behind Igor Martinez. Martinez, I am very surprised. He was in amongst all of the action at the sharp end of the field on the climb of the Onvalira till he finally went over the top in third place. I think it'll come back together. It's early days yet, and a long way still to go, of course. 52 miles of racing in the Pyrenees, but the last 25 are all downhill, so that makes it sound a bit better, doesn't it? George Hincapie, free to fly now, not taking anybody away that's damaging anybody on his team. This would be a perfect day for George. I wonder if it will be so. It would be great. He'd be very popular if he won today. So clear blue skies, the temperature rising all of the time, the pace is hotting up as well. We'll see you in just a moment.
I just won $1 million.
Sure you did, Cope.
The king?
That's not $1 million. Whoa, you want a security guard, too.
Let the king change your life. Play Transform Your Way at Burger King now for a chance to win $1 million.
These two here, guys.
It's all good, man. Don't sweat it. Don't worry about it.
You know what? Follow me. There you go, guys. Enjoy the games.
Heineken Light, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hey, guys, can you pass me one? Please?
Heineken Light. Give yourself a good name.
One thing about this race is that you're hitting the most extreme conditions you ever hit in a race.
I can't even describe how bad it is. It is the roughest road you could ever imagine riding a bike over.
The bikes are unbelievable. I don't know how I raced Roubaix before without it.
We think it's nice to have stock bikes in the races so people can see how good those bikes really are.
Exceptional. They've surprised me again.
The way I see it, all synthetic oils are the same.
Think with your dipstick, Jimmy.
Aren't all synthetic oils the same?
Think with your dipstick, Jimmy.
Synthetics or synthetics?
Castrol Edge. I'm going to try this.
Oh, no, that's thinking with your dipstick.
So why did you hit me?
Because you were thinking with your dipstick, Jimmy.
Think with your dipstick. Upgrade to new Castrol Edge. With 8 times better wear protection than Mobil 15W30. It's more than just oil. It's liquid engineering.
My Impreza has a Subaru Boxer engine. It's perfectly balanced for performance and handling. I love that engine. And I love anyone else who loves a Subaru engine too.
Impreza love knows no bounds. Love. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Lease an Impreza for $179 per month or get 0% APR financing.
Welcome back to the tour as we gaze here at one of the 12th century monuments that look high above the valley and the river Ariège. We're in the department of the Ariège all day today as we continue here. The breakaway is just about to climb the Col de Port now, and they're still away. There are 10 riders clear. Beautiful day and set to get quite warm by the end of it, and the race is running some 6 minutes ahead of schedule. The peloton has more or less got it all together. I think the riders, including the green jersey of Mark Cavendish, have rejoined on this long valley link now as we transfer from the Port d'Envalira to the Col de Port. This peloton now just settling down. They're allowing the breakaway to run. It's over 2¼ minutes, and it's looking good to be a long break, this one. Sitting at the back there, Denis Menchov, the winner of the Giro d'Italia and the man who crashed in the team time trial on stage 4 of this event, and we haven't really spoken of him since. He's lost a bit of interest. He sits at the back of the peloton and doesn't seem to be very keen on what's going on at all.
Well, I see AG2R now have decided that they are going to come to the front end of the main field because it's a very important thing for them. They know that having Luis Leon Sanchez in that breakaway, they could lose their yellow jersey this afternoon, and they obviously have twigged to the fact that Team Astana are not too worried in the long term about Luis Leon Sanchez, and they're going to allow the breakaway that we've just seen form as much freedom as possible.
Well, the average speed today, 41.4 kilometers an hour, which is really quick when you take into account the mountain they climbed, 23 kilometers long out of Andorra, which they flew up, which has put them this 6 or 7 minutes ahead of fastest expected arrival time. And the breakaway is again formed once they managed to shake out Cadel Evans, and he was caught by the Armstrong chasing group. Nobody here is going to worry them too much until we get over 4 minutes. And then that will give Sanchez the race lead on the road. There might be a reaction then. And we have heard that Oscar Pereiro has abandoned the race. The man who won in 2006 has stopped. He was dropped very early on the Envalira. He didn't look at all well, and he's obviously not come back to the bunch. He's climbed off.
Well, these are tough days through the Pyrenees, but it doesn't look too tough, does it, when you look here at the pedaling style of Luis Leon Sanchez, a man who, for the Spanish press, very reminiscent of Miguel Indurain. They felt that before Alberto Contador came to the top of Spanish cycling, that Luis Leon Sanchez was going to be the next big Tour de France contender for Spain. And he's proved in the past that he's capable of winning stages, but not yet proved that he's capable of rivaling a top 10 position.
Lance has now found the new star on the French block anyway, and that is Brice Feliu. Having a chat with him here, saying well done yesterday. You did well to stay away all day to start with. To win the stage was exceptional. Enjoy your day in the polka dot.
Just to explain something, the amazing thing about all professional athletes around the world is they all speak multiple languages, and although Lance Armstrong is very reticent to give interviews in French or Spanish, he is pretty conversant in those languages, and he does know how to talk to a lot of other riders in the pack. So Astana deciding just to set the tempo. I don't think we'll see too much of an attack on this climb, but the next climb, the Col d'Agnès, is a lot more difficult, and it's a 12.5 kilometer climb with much higher gradients. And we may well see on the slopes of the next climb of the day, Phil, a little flurry of attacks from some of the climbers.
That's what they're waiting for. So this is the steady riding here as they what we face, and just looking here, we're over the first cat on the left. It took out Oscar Pereira from the Tour. We're dropping down. We've been through the 2 sprints in the Ariège Valley Road. We're heading on to the Col de Port now. We're halfway up, and these are the informations on the climbs. Watch out for the Col d'Agnès, 7.7 miles long, 6.5% average, takes us up to 5,151 feet. It's a first category climb. We've still got a top out of 4,000 on the Col de Port, which is where we are at the moment. We are now riding deep into the throat of the shark here, because these are now the beautiful Pyrenees of France, and as the riders get deeper into them, so it bites that little bit harder. We'll see in a minute.
The ups and downs of sand, mud, and the economy. Range Rover Sport, the luxury that's more than a luxury.
My name is Esther.
They gave her a home,
Do you like it? It's perfect.
but she is not who you think she is.
The orphanage you thought she came from has never heard of her.
On July 24th,
Esther started the fire.
oh, come on. Esther has a secret
She's been lying to me.
you'll never see coming.
You don't know how long I've waited for a family like yours. What did you do?
Orphan, rated R, starts July 24th.
You wanted to see me, sir?
Oh, come on in. I had some other things you could tell people about Geico. Great claim service and a 97% customer satisfaction rate show people really trust us.
Yeah, right. That makes sense.
Trust is key when talking about Geico. You gotta feel it. Why don't you and I practice that with a little exercise where I fall backwards and you catch me?
No, sir. Honestly, I don't think...
No, we can do this.
Oh, dear.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Growing up in a family with my dad winning the Indy 500, you take some heat. There's really no sport like it. We're inches apart, wheel to wheel, and one touch, and you're gone. I did 19 last year, and it's kind of a crazy feeling. You got all these friends at college taking history exams, yet I'm sitting there going 230 miles an hour. It's a crazy lifestyle. That's how it goes. It's gotta be a new race!
Hey, I'm Jake of Body by Jake and founder of Exercise TV.
It's time to make the commitment to lose weight and get fit. That's why I created Exercise TV, to give you access to the best workouts from the best fitness trainers. Exercise TV delivers hundreds of workouts every month, so you'll never get bored. If you have digital cable, it's free on demand. And now, Exercise TV takes fitness online with exercisetv.tv, where you can get free workouts, downloads, and exclusive exercise tips. Make the commitment. Your workout is waiting.
What's up, Kat? I'm reading an article about that new show, It's On, with Alexa Chung.
What? Alexa's live show will allow her to say and do whatever she wants.
True that.
Then why are you wasting your time?
Because that jacket she's wearing is fierce.
I saw it first.
It's On with Alexa Chung, weekdays at noon.
For adventurous birthday parties and group outings, check out the amazing mini golf, go-karts, and dueling dragsters at Adventure Golf and Raceway. Call or click now for low group rates.
The Spanish flags will run with this one now because this is Alberto Contador. Did you see the way he flew away from the field?
It was a spontaneous attack. I saw some dangerous GC rivals around me who didn't look too comfortable.
Armstrong is still there.
Like I've said all along, my obligation is to the team.
Armstrong will play the defensive role.
Our plan was just to ride steady and wait for the others to attack.
It's the psychological blow and the fact that he's put himself to the top of the real contenders amongst Team Astana.
Black put in some good moves. Goodell put in some good moves. Wiggo at the end there put in a good move. You got to just stay on the wheel. I mean, that's bike racing.
Armstrong is playing the ultimate teammate here. He's sitting on the wheel of Cadel Evans, allowing Evans to try and chase back the young Spaniard who has flown the coupe.
Since our team is very well placed, I attacked and I gained a few valuable seconds.
Was that his decision or did that come from Johan in the team car?
I'd say it was his.
There's going to be a big battle in this Tour de France. This is only the first battle of what is going to be a war throughout the mountains.
Yes, I think there's no doubt it was the decision made spontaneously by Alberto Contador on the Arcleis yesterday. He saw rivals attack and then he thought he'd hit them very hard and he got a few seconds, not just on his rivals, of course, but also on Lance Armstrong, his co-leader of the Astana team. And now the question is, are they going to fall out over that or accept what has happened? Well, maybe we can find out a little bit more on that right now, because Johan Brunel at the start this morning, here he is, as he was talking with our Cisco insider, Frankie Andreu.
Johan, the headlines read the boss Contador with his unplanned attack yesterday. Is this something you had to address with the team or with Alberto?
We just did in the meeting, yes.
So you addressed it this morning?
Yes.
AG2R has the yellow jersey. Yesterday, the team didn't take the yellow. You didn't get the stage win, and yet you have to do all the work. How do you balance not getting the immediate rewards for your focus at the end?
Well, yesterday we knew that it was going to be a difficult day for the team in terms of responsibility, because we knew that we didn't know who's have the jersey at the end of the stage. So ultimately for us it was a good day, because a French team gets the jersey, and I'm pretty sure, I mean, I didn't talk to their director, but I'm pretty sure they're going to defend it.
In the morning meeting with Alberto, was there calming him down? Or
there was some tension, but you know, once we get out of here, they're focused on their job, and it's all good now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. I'm not sure what we learned about that, everyone, but Johan Brunel probably told Alberto not to pull that trick again, I guess. But certainly the race goes on, and they've made a big claim here to future lead on this race. We are with the leaders as they battle their way up the Col de Port for the second day's climb after the Pont de Don-Livard back in Andorra, which brought us into France. Gap is pushing up, but not quite as quickly as you might have expected on the climb. 2:36 now. Man that started the move sitting at the back, Juan Antonio Fletcher. There's the latest gaps.
They've got it pretty much locked in, Phil, the front end of the main field, and I was happy to see that AG2R had come forward to do a little bit of pacemaking to try and defend the lead of Ronaldo Nocentini. A slim lead that it might be over Alberto Contador at just 6 seconds. We're not far away from the summit with the leaders of that big second category climb, but almost immediately after that they've got the first category climber. 11.5 kilometers of climbing the Col de Port with an average gradient of just 5.5%, and the summit of it is at 74 kilometers to go. It's not very high at 1,250 meters, but I think it's starting to get rather warm out there.
Sounds high enough to me. 5,000 feet is a pretty high climb, but of course it's not as high as the one that they pick up to as they descend away from this one. Certainly this part of the Pyrenees is delightful for everybody, especially the people that live here, but they get hard winters, and maybe it wouldn't be so appealing in the winter when the snow is on the ground. This is the main field now, and again a first sprinkling of AG2R riders in support of the new yellow jersey, Nocentini. Looks as though Rossler isn't quite enjoying this climb as much as I thought he would.
No, and in fact, somebody's lifted the tempo around the corner there, causing a slight split in this group. It's just an indication that the natural pressure at the front end of the group is splitting riders off the back one by one. Thor Hushovd was the first man to be the victim here. And again, you see George Hincapie, Phil, always attentive. He's moving across the gap. It's Mikhail Ignatiev, the Russian rider on Team Katusha, who all of the time is very keen to put the hammer down.
Hushovd unhooked. It looks as though Rossler is going the same way as they head towards the second climb. They haven't got to the top of this one yet. And Hincapie, we know, will handle these climbs quite well. He spent a long time in his days alongside Lance Armstrong in the mountains for as long as he could, as he now pushes on. And Mikhail Ignatiev really enjoying this Tour de France for the Russian Katusha team. 5 kilometers for the peloton, remember, to go yet on this climb. So that means that they're probably about 3 from the summit in that breakaway.
Jaroslav Popovic over on the right-hand side did a lot of work on the race yesterday. A great champion. He's finished on the podium of the Giro d'Italia. And there you can see just how difficult it is for the team cars to move forward to a breakaway. The team car over on the right-hand side there had been given permission by the referees to go forward to look after his riders in the break. But on these very narrow roads through the Pyrenees, it's a tough job sometimes for the team manager to get by.
Well, I think they're going to see Thor Hushovd dropping back here. There's Carlos Sastre centre left of our picture now, the big E on his sleeves. He's still got a lot of work to become a challenger, but he always rides good in the last week of a big tour. So as we look out across the greenery here, I'm told the trees only grow up to about 1,500 meters, so we're going to go above the tree line. We'll take a break and we'll come back and join the leaders very shortly.
I want to let you know I'm going to be off on Monday.
I never heard of Chinchilla Day.
Sure you have. It's called the Revolucion de Chinchilla. It was when the pet chinchillas of a tiny Pueblo town rose up against the people. For 3 bloody days, the fighting continued. Until finally, the last of the chinchillas was gone.
And how do you celebrate?
3 days in Vegas. It's a cultural obligation.
Choosing a car is like trying on a dress. As soon as you slip into it, you know it's the one. But you still turn around to see the back, because let's face it, you want them to hate to see you go, but love to watch you leave.
Introducing the all-new Cadillac CTS Sport Wagon. When your engine's running clean, you feel it. And Pennzoil Motor Oil actively cleans out up to 15% of sludge the first time you use it. So feel the clean. Not just oil, Pennzoil.
This is the new iPhone. Shooting video. This is the new iPhone editing video. And this is the new iPhone sharing video. Video on the iPhone 3GS, the most powerful iPhone yet.
Hi, may I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for car insurance that isn't going to break the bank.
You're in the right place. Only Progressive gives you the option to name your price. Here.
A price gun?
Mm-hmm.
So I tell you what I want to pay.
And we build you a policy to fit your budget.
That's cool. Feel so empowered.
Power to the people.
The option to name your price. New and only from Progressive. Call or click today.
Protesting is awesome. Yeah. Do you want to go to my apartment?
What?
What?
Need a moment?
I thought you were a believer. Someone who wanted to blog about their ideals.
I love blogging.
Chew it over with Twix.
Versus.com is where you should go for live updates, fan chat, rider info, and even Lance Armstrong's own video blog. From time trials to the grueling climbs up Mont Ventoux, Versus.com has you covered with the Tour's totally interactive experience. It really is fun. The Tour de France at Versus.com. So enjoy the Tour tracker there. We're now going to try and track out and find where the riders have gone. Here they are. They're on the Col de Port. We've lost 2 riders so far. Thor Hushoff was the first one to crack, and he was quickly joined by Sebastian Rossler. They've just slipped off the back, giving us now just 8 riders in the lead. But they really are eating up the kilometres today. 77 left to ride. Cancellara just coming dangerously close to the back. No, he's not in trouble. He's going to slip into the back. That's where we are, approaching the summit of the Col de Port. Looks as though Fabian Cancellara would like a drink now as he comes to the back. But you see, he does ride these average mountains very well, Paul, doesn't he?
No, he does, and I think he's a changed rider with that victory in the Tour of Switzerland. He's obviously started to nurture thoughts of getting himself over the mountain passes. Poursuivant, the chaser here, Thor Hushoff, he's been left behind because of the slopes of this climb, but he's attained his goal for the day, and his goal for the day was to go out and get some points in the green jersey points classification race and overtake Mark Cavendish.
That's right, he's done that. He didn't expect to be in for the sprint at 17 kilometres to go, because that's the other side of the Col d'Agnès. So he'll just keep a steady tempo here and will expect to be joined. He might even survive on the descent and be joined on the climb of the Col d'Agnès itself, which goes into the last 44 kilometres of the day. Wise move. You don't want to throw all your energy away in one day when you've got still another 2 weeks of the Tour de France. We don't finish till 2 weeks tomorrow in Paris. There's an awful lot of road before then.
It coins my favourite old saying, still 3 Sundays to go.
Still 3 Sundays to go. Hard to believe. They're still riding a bike in 3 Sundays' time. 3:19 is going up steadily. We'll soon be at that 4 minutes. And then we'll have Leon Sanchez as the new leader on the road.
There's the yellow jersey just popping through there, Ronaldo Nocentini. Not a name that is unknown to us. We've seen him racing very successfully since he was an amateur way back in 1998 and getting a silver medal in the World Championships. But I think one of the best wins we saw him get, Phil, was in the Tour of Langkawi a number of years ago in Malaysia.
Yes, that was a very good race in Malaysia, the Tour de Langkawi, well supported by the local people. And that is a beautiful journey through the valley here, except we've chosen the hilly route over the Col de Port. But if you just go off to the right, it's a flat road right down the belly of the Pyrenees, heading for Saint-Gaudens. There's the peloton. You see, they're climbing it quite quickly. This is what we call a fast tempo climb. The gradient's not too steep, and if you can just hold on to a fast pedaling rhythm, you should be okay.
Quite rare, really, to have a couple of days like this in the Pyrenees. There's the Union Jack over on the right-hand side, and quite a lot to shout about, really, in the Tour de France this year, of course, with the performances of Mark Cavendish getting himself 2-stage victories. But I think also, Phil, the fact that Bradley Wiggins is currently lying in 5th place overall with a stunning climbing performance yesterday.
Wiggins there is top left of our picture in the orange there, has had a tremendous race so far, completely changed from a year ago. He's an Olympic champion on the track, but he wants to be a top road rider. He's gone a long way in this week to becoming such a thing. Good tempo riding by everybody concerned here, but nobody really worried about the breakaway. They're just keeping an eye on things as they course up towards the top of the Col de Port. It's the Col d'Agnès we should all really be worrying about, I think. So there we are. As we look at the riders there, let me remind you again, Versus.com is where you go, /Ride of Your Life every day to take part in our Cadillac Ride of Your Life sweepstakes. The password to get on board today is Cadillac. You could be on the 2010 Tour de France, and you could also have a Cervelo S2 bicycle. 1 kilometre to go for the leaders. The password climb when you log in. So inside the last kilometre, Cancellara is riding very well again now. Bad day yesterday, jersey over the wall. Now he's pulled on his red champions jersey and he's doing all right. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and see them over the top of the Col de Port.
Wow. My bike? Alberto's bike? Lance's bike? Wow.
Own the sky in the all-new Infinity G hardtop convertible, the latest in the remarkable Infinity G line.
Will my bike. Yo necesito mi bicicleta para el tour. Will Nancy's bike. Will Levi's bike. Wow.
Kelly Saunders' Nature Valley. The place that inspires her to go faster and slower. Elk Mountains, Colorado. Where's yours? 100% natural Nature Valley granola bars. The taste nature intended.
Will my bike.
My bike?
Will Nancy's bike.
Lance's bike? Wow. Wow.
What about my bike? Tuesday, Versus delivers sports from soup. Sports soup for everyone! To nuts. Oh, you're so full of Sports soup and Fanarchy. Tuesday night. Oh.
What gets you out running, walking, or doing what you really love to do? You have your own motivations for being out there. Enjoy every second. The Boulder Running Company has what you need to make your experience even better. From free video gait analysis, to a huge casual shoe selection, to apparel and accessories. The Boulder Running Company. Boulder, Denver, Colorado Springs, and online at boulderrunningcompany.com.
Why would someone strap themselves into a cramped, loud, nitro-powered rocket sled like this? Is it the adrenaline from 5 Gs? Is it the rush of 300 miles an hour? Is it the thrill of straddling 7,000 horsepower?
It's the Wally. The Wally.
NHRA Full Throttle Drag Racing returns to Bandimere Speedway this weekend for the Mopar Mile High NHRA Nationals. Call now for tickets. NHRA Full Throttle Drag Racing. Speed thrills.
We're back in time. As we just approach the top here, the Col de Port, Sandy Cassar in the white is being challenged here by Mikhail Ignatiev, but I think Cassar's got the advantage of the bend. He'll go over first, Ignatiev third, and just peeping into our picture here is Astalosa, the leader of Euskaltel Euskadi. They'll probably all come together as they start the trip down. The gap is building though now, because Luis Leon Sanchez in that breakaway is within about 50 seconds of becoming the leader of the tour on the road. Confirmation there of Astalosa, who has just taken third place. It was a second category climb, so the first 6 riders will score points there. A bit further down the twists and turns, there's the banner on the top of the Col de Port. Sandy Cassar, 2 out of 2 for him today in the Mountains Port, so he's going to be nibbling good points now. He's got 20 points scored in the King of the Mountains as well.
Confirmation there of the other riders, but I've just noticed that Team Astana starting to turn up the screws a fraction at the front end of the main field, and before they get to the summit of the climb, they're going to join this man, because this is Big Tor Hushoff. He wasn't able to stay with the leading group when it was 10 men strong, and in fact he was tailed off the back on the climb, but he's not too concerned because he's done a very good operation today, getting himself 2 sprint points out on the course, 12 points in the green jersey competition, and that will put him in the lead by 11.
Just look at his face. He's doing exactly what he does well. He's not having entirely a free ride, but he's resting on the climb. He's not committing suicide to keep up with the boys. He won't even chase them down the hill. He'll continue to ride along until the peloton pick him up. That's a wise man for you. The first and only Norwegian rider ever to win the green jersey. He goes over in either 9th or 10th place, because I have no idea what's happened to Sebastian Rosler, but he may be just ahead of him.
I would expect Rosler to be just in front, and not very far behind is the Norwegian national champion there, Kurt Atle Arvesen, and very shortly they'll have him back in the fold.
Well, they appeared to sprint for that, but I don't know why, because there were no points in the King of the Mountains competition as Tor Hushoff drops back. The gap at the top, by the way, 2 minutes and 57 seconds to the peloton for our leaders today. And then remind us that there are 3 riders, Paul, in that group ahead who are less than 5 minutes behind the overall leader, Nocentini. So the Col d'Agnès is going to be crucial now.
And it just goes to remind you as well that you can't give riders like Luis Leon Sanchez bunches of time back, because in fact if you cast your mind back to Oscar Pereiro in 2006, he pulled time back on a flat stage and ended up being the winner.
So they've come over the Col de Port, which is part of the Ariz Massif here. This covers an area of 9,888. Goodness knows how they worked out that. Hectares. Peaks out at 1,249 meters and climbs in difference over 600 meters. We'll take a break. Next up, the Col d'Agnès, a much harder possibility.
Hybrid for everyone is here. The Insight, designed and priced for us all, from Honda.
Y'all loving your McCafe experience? Good, because here's something else to love. Free McCafe Mondays at McDonald's. Enjoy a sweet, scintillating sample of chocolate bliss that'll leave you shivering for more, and you thought we couldn't get any cooler. Or warm your soul with a chocolate and coffee combo that'll send you to mocha heaven. Only thing better is that it's free. They give me the light, so I give you McCafe.
Start your engine.
At TireRack.com, we don't just sell tires, we test them on our unique test track. Our results are honest, unbiased, and as real as it gets. Use this information to help decide which tires are right for you, your vehicle, how you drive it, and where you drive it. It's not just a test track, it's truth serum for tires.
Right now, when you buy a set of 4 select BF Goodrich tires, get a $50 Visa prepaid card. For details, go to TireRack.com/TV. Research, buy, deliver, install.
The faces of the contenders in this year's Tour de France. Contador is best of them after yesterday's ride, 6 seconds off the lead. Armstrong is right there with 8 seconds off. Leipheimer 39. They're the top 3 riders on the same team. Christian van der Velde is coming back from injury and riding really well. He's in 8th. Andy Schleck 9th. Sastre and Cadel Evans. Well, our Cisco Inside interview now is with Lance Armstrong. Let's join Frankie Andreu.
Lance, yesterday an interesting stage with Alberto Contador attacking. You've had a night to think about it. What are your thoughts about how it played out yesterday?
Well, not really any different than yesterday. You know, I think the thing we have to keep in mind is we're in a good position as a team, and we've got guys up there, so we have a lot of cards we can play, and it's a long tour. I mean, Alberto is definitely strong. We can't deny that. he wanted to assert himself in the race, which he did, and we'll just keep focusing on the final week.
With Alberto doing his own plan yesterday, is the team more divided than it was at the beginning of the tour?
Well, I'm going to refuse to comment on that, but it's at the end of the day, we're all professionals, and even if there were some hurt feelings, we're going to do our job. And
AG2R has the yellow jersey. Contador didn't get yellow, you didn't get yellow, you didn't win the stage, but yet today it's a climbing stage. Your team is stronger. You're going to have to end up working for that. Tell me a little bit about your strategy for today.
Well, hopefully the breakaway goes, and AG2R realizes that these days are mountain days, but they're not necessarily that hard, and they probably can keep it together. And I mean, for that team, French team at this race, it's probably really important to keep a jersey for 2, 3, 5, 6, however long. I mean, that would be a real highlight for them. So hopefully the breakaway works, that it's the right combination, and they ride all day, or they ride 4 days actually.
The more the better. Thank you.
More. Thanks.
Hey, Frankie. Well, thank you, Lance. I don't know about everybody watching, but to me it's I'm going to win the Tour. That's what I feel Lance wanted to say but wouldn't say it. We'll find out. Still 2 weeks to go. He's right about this stage though, and he's got the breakaway, so it's up to AG2R now to chase the breakaway down. This breakaway still running, Paul. It's up to 2 minutes 41. This is the names in the breakaway: Contain, Cancellara, Antonio Fletcher, Astelosa, George Hincapie has made the selection as well. Sebastian Rosler, I'm not sure he's in there, but I think he might have got back on the way down, but I haven't seen him recently. There's the peloton. They're also tipped, and now they're on the way down. They turn right there. They've gone to the beautiful town of Foix. It's only 10 kilometers off to the right. It's a lovely riding area in the Ariège. This morning, Paul, at the start, Armstrong telling people there that Alberto asserted himself and he's very strong, etc. But you get the feeling but I'm going to win the Tour. That's what I feel, the way he's talking.
He's come here to win the Tour, and I think that was a big test for him yesterday on the slopes of the Pyrenees to see whether he could rival everyone. And I think Lance, bear in mind, I think he's lining up for a career in politics a little later on in his life, and he's answering the questions as he needs to answer them. He doesn't want any rift in his team. He wants the team to remain as a solid block, and he understands that he can't make statements to the press about really how he feels. But I think deep down inside him, he wants to win this bike race. He knows how to win it. He's won it 7 times in the past in every different way that you want to, from the front, from the back, from the middle, from the individual time trial. So he will keep that in the back of his mind, and I think we will see a big battle one day in the Alps when Lance Armstrong will show us that he's got great form. And I'm waiting for the Alps now. I don't think that Armstrong will make any kind of a move through the Pyrenees, but I think he will be happy with his form yesterday. He was looking at the other challengers on that climb up to Arcalis. He was looking at Cadel Evans, looking at the Schleck brothers, and he was rivaling them quite easily at 37 years of age.
I think he had it in his legs, and he didn't chase down Alberto when he took it because he was playing the team part. But I must say, this morning, poignant questions put to him about the team situation, and he actually said no comment. So I've never known Lance do that before. Well, anyway, we'll find out. We're staying in a hotel with him tonight, Paul. Maybe we can catch him out. I doubt it.
I doubt that very much. Lance has had a lot of experience with the press over his last 10 or 15 years. He knows exactly how to handle the press, and he knows exactly which questions he can and can't answer. And the ones about the Tour de France and who is the leader of the team, he will answer with his legs.
Well, that's the way to do it, isn't it? Well, Sebastian Rosler has rejoined these 10 riders. There's 9 of them back up front at the moment. He's come on the descent and done well to get back up, just in time to go off the back again, I would think, once we get on to the Col d'Agnès, which is a steep first category climb. And then once that's over, it's all downhill to the finish. Very high speed as well as we fly into Saint-Gaudens.
And if you think it's easy going downhill in a bike race, just to follow this rider from Cofidis here, Phil, Christophe Kern, second at the top of the Port d'Envalira in the breakaway yesterday, and he's having a hard time staying in contact on the downhill.
Well, he's the new leader in the King of the Mountains, this man, so he's got to get to the finish and pull on that polka dot jersey tonight. So there he is, descending very rapidly to rejoin. He's had a busy old day, actually. Well, busy 2 days. He was in the breakaway yesterday as well. But in the breakaway today, it is George Hincapie. He is the man who's got himself into the break for Columbia HTC and could well be the man to win today. More on George Hincapie when we come back.
He's had a huge impact. He's taught me everything I know about the sport, so it's, I couldn't imagine being where I am without him. It's like a big brother to
me. Choosing a car is like trying on a dress. As soon as you slip into it, you know it's the one. But you still turn around to see the back, because let's face it, you want them to hate to see you go, but love to watch you leave.
Introducing the all-new Cadillac CTS Sportwagon.
Adaptive friction extinguishers? And hypertronic wear resistors? Seriously? I use the one that offers an engine guarantee. Yeah.
Only Valvoline guarantees your engine up to 300,000 miles. Get Valvoline. Get guaranteed. Free hot breakfast. Real value from your friends at Hampton.
Michelle has had leukemia since she was 2. The Coleman twins were born 24 weeks premature. Max had his first surgery when he was 3 days old. These kids are alive today, and it's a real miracle. When your child needs help, there's a Children's Miracle Network hospital nearby. Go to childrensmiraclenetwork.org to support our hospitals helping local kids.
It's the symbol of superiority for which they all fight. But every tournament only has one champion. 2009 will take a select few to legendary heights and bring others to their knees. But they continue the fight with some fresh faces entering the fray. Because it's what they know. It's what they do best. Watch the Champions Tour all season long on Golf Channel.
Things that matter to me are worth covering well.
So when I'm insuring my car, I'm really covering so much more.
With coverage that's smart when I buy it and smarter when I need it.
Join the thousands of us getting better auto coverage at a better price under the Travelers umbrella.
Get better coverage with Travelers and save an average of $383. To find an agent near you or to get a quote, visit travelers.com or call 1-800-MY-COVERAGE.
Well, I was shopping for a new car. Which one's me? A cool convertible or an SUV? Too bad I didn't know my credit was whack, cause now I'm driving off the lot in a used subcompact. F-R-E-E, that spells free. Creditreport.com, baby. Saw their ads on my TV. Thought about going but was too lazy. Now instead of looking fly and rolling fat, my legs are sticking to the vinyl and my posse's getting laughed at. F-R-E-E, that spells free. Creditreport.com, baby.
Offer applies with enrollment and Triple Advantage.
There's big days lying ahead in the Tour de France. We say goodbye to the Pyrenees with a tough stage tomorrow between Saint-Gaudens on the road to Tarbes. We will start at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's 6 Central Time. And then another big day to watch out for next week of stage 16 and Martigny to Bourg-Saint-Maurice. That will start at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time. 2 big days, might be 2 decisive days on the Tour de France. Well, as we gaze out across the Pyrenees here, George Hincapie is in the breakaway. He has been a superb bike rider. He's in his 14th Tour de France. Time now for us all to learn a little bit more about this phenomenon from the USA. And George Hincapie, after 10 years in the Tour de France, finally gets a victory, and he cannot believe it.
Obviously, George brings a lot of experience. He's a damn good bike rider. The hardest day of my life was the day he won the Tour de France. The results from the team in the younger generation, a big part of the success goes to George because, you know, he teaches you, you know, he goes, guys, this is the way to do it.
Well, I think my experience brings a lot of value to this team. I think the guys really respect me, and they really look to me in these high-pressure moments during the race that we all have day in and day out. They look to me to make quick decisions on the road, or if we're leading the Tour de France like we were last year, who has more experience in that than I do. So I played a big role in that. It's a big honor for me, and you know, these young kids on these teams are the best in the world. They're the best sprinters in the world, best climbers, and they love to have fun, which is great for me to see. Which makes cycling that much easier and makes the days go by quicker.
He's had a huge impact. He's taught me everything I know about the sport, so I couldn't imagine being where I am without him. It's like a big brother to me.
I think that's also one of the riders I have the most respect from. I mean, he's so many years in cycling, and he's so relaxed. He always has an answer on your questions, and he's the real leader of the team.
This is my 16th season as a professional. I think if you would have asked me 3 years ago how many more years would I do, I'd probably say I'd be done after this year. But I've had so much fun on this team, and I really enjoy the enthusiasm from the riders on this team that it doesn't seem that hard anymore. It makes the time away from home that much easier. And I really look forward to seeing all the guys on the team, and I think that's going to keep me racing for a little bit more.
Yes, what a moment that was for George, the yellow jersey in the Tour de France. Everybody was delighted for him. It's his 14th Tour de France, I said earlier. His best finish overall has been 24th. He helped Lance win all 7 of his tours. He was always on the team. And then he got his own chance in the last year of Armstrong's victories in 05 when he won on the Pla d'Day climb, not very far away from where we are racing today. And he's in the lead group today, and there wouldn't be a dry eye in the house if he were to win today, that's for sure. There is Thor Hushovd. He's just going back to check with Cavendish now and tell him that he's got the green jersey, Paul, because it looks like he's slipping off the peloton this climb.
Well, he got himself over the Port d'Envolira, and I think in a very admirable fashion. He was obviously hyper-motivated, Phil, to get out there over that first big climb of the day in the search of trying to get himself some points in that green jersey points classification, and that's why, of course, he went out onto the breakaway to get those points, and now it's just a question, as far as he's concerned, of surviving to the finish.
Well, we've just started the lower slopes to the Col d'Agnès. It's much longer, much higher, much steeper climb than the second category Col de Port. About 37 miles left to race today for the riders. And it'll be interesting to see now just how the climbers in this lead group, and there are some reasonable climbers here, will now probably try to shed the other guys.
Well, it's a climb of 12.5 kilometers total. It's almost the same average gradient all the way up, between 6 and 9%. Fortunately for the riders, though, Phil, at around about 8 kilometers, there's 1 kilometer of flat, which will give them a slight bit of respite before the final 3 kilometers up to the summit.
Well, they might need that. This is 2 kilometers longer than the finishing climb yesterday, but of course it's not quite as steep. That averaged out at just over 7% yesterday.
Well, again, Mikhail Ignatiev is the man who's really stirring it up at the front, and I'm quite surprised to see how comfortable he is on the climbs, Phil, because his pedigree, his background is a track racer.
Absolutely.
He was a gold medalist in the Olympic Games in Athens, but every time this race goes uphill, he's quite happy to really dish out some pain.
Third time the riders will have climbed this, and Robert Miller, the great Scottish climber, and the only British riders who have won the King of the Mountains for Great Britain back in '84, went over the top in first place in the Tour in 1988. We also had a victory over the top here by Marco Pantani, sadly the late Marco Pantani, in 1995.
And just to back up on that story of Robert Miller, not only was the only Brit to win the King of the Mountains, he also finished in 4th place overall.
He did indeed. We're looking at the peloton. Well, no, we're not. We're looking at the breakaway at the moment as we switch now to the 9 leaders. There were 10. We've lost 1, Thor Hushovd. But while Thor Hushovd was in this breakaway, he's done enough to take 12 points in the green jersey sprint competition today. So he will take the jersey off the shoulders of Mark Cavendish tonight by just 11 points. They were split by a single point today. Cavendish had the expected rough ride on the first climb of the Port d'Envolira. And as far as I know, he's got back into the peloton, which is just holding this breakaway in check, but not exactly running back at them. 2 minutes 5 seconds around the current gap, and 57 kilometers to go. I think the big thing is the speed of the race today, Paul. These boys have really put the pedal down. So just looking here at the leaders, and still plenty of work. Mikel Astolosa driving. This is Sebastian Rosser. Looks a lot calmer now, doesn't he? Having been dropped on the previous climb, he came back on the descent, and at the moment he's looking like a much better rider here. Good fast tempo riding. Hasn't started to bite too much yet, of course, but it will. There's the snow over there. We're not going that way. You're okay. We'll take a break. See you in a moment.
I'm a Tour de France stage winner. I'm a Tour of California winner. I'm an Olympic medalist. I'm a son. I am a husband. And because I'm all of these, I ride with my road ID.
Accidents happen. In an emergency, wearing road ID can help ensure proper medical treatment and immediate contact of family. It could even save your life.
Road ID. It's who I am.
We all need people who will be there for us in life. People who say, we're with you, no matter what. At Wachovia and Wells Fargo, we're with you. When a house turns into a home.
Excuse me, Rufus.
When a passion becomes a career. When a relationship turns into a lifetime. And when times are tough, but life presses on. We're with you when you need someone to stand by you. Wachovia, Wells Fargo, and you. Together, we'll go far.
First, I was afraid. I was petrified.
Kept thinking that each meeting meant that I would have to fly.
But then I spent so many nights
Reading emails way too long.
that I grew strong.
Network video came along, and so I'm back.
No time to waste. Just click the mouse and get things done.
See people face to face.
I should have changed things long ago.
This technology saved the day.
More collaboration, less complication. That's the human network effect. Learn more at cisco.com/newways.
When your engine's running clean, you feel it. And Pennzoil Motor Oil actively cleans out up to 15% of sludge the first time you use it. So feel the clean. Not just oil, Pennzoil.
And as a Progressive customer, you get to use any of our concierge claim centers.
So I can just drop off my car and you'll take care of everything?
Yep, even the rental.
What if I'm stuck at the office?
If you can't come to us, we'll come to you in one of our immediate response vehicles.
What if Mother won't let me drive?
Then you probably wouldn't have had an accident in the first place. And we're walking, and we're walking.
Making it all a bit easier. Now that's Progressive. Call or click today.
Patrick? What's up, Ryan? Oops.
Get dunked on by Patrick Chewing.
Welcome back. We're looking through the woods here, the High Pyrenees, and we're on the climb now of the Col d'Agnès, the last challenge of the day on this, the second day in the Pyrenees, the 8th day of the Tour de France. We are looking here at the heads of the race, and there's now 8 of them moments ago, and we're very surprised to say it, but Fabian Cancellara dropped off the back and didn't look at all good, and so I don't think he'll be coming back to this breakaway. Now, if the breakaway does succeed, that's a major fast finisher taken out of the competition, and that might help George Hincapie to deliver today. There's the peloton. holding the race just on 2 minutes today and putting a lot of pressure on the yellow jersey to do something to bring them back to heel. Remember, we've done the Andorre-Lavier class climb, 3,980 feet. That's behind us. Sandy Cassar, the winner. Col de Port, Sandy Cassar, the winner there. We're heading up the Col d'Agnès to the top of that first category climb, and then it's all plunged downhill to the finish. We're heading up to 5,151 feet on this 7.7 miles mountain. Much harder than the Col de Port, and it hasn't really got to the biting part yet. 1, 2, 3 AG2R riders now having to drive at the front, but the good news, Paul, is also that Bradley Wiggins, Christian van der Velde, the two Garmin boys, are right there up at the front. They're not going to be too worried about this breakaway. They've got it in check. No, they might lose the stage, but they're thinking long term. It won't alter the overall positions at the moment.
I think it's very interesting that Bradley Wiggins climbed so well yesterday, but the explanation goes down to the fact, Phil, now that I think he's got in his mind the decision to become a good road racing rider. He's got an incredible track record where he's garnered himself 3 Olympic gold medals. But since the Olympic gold medal at the Games last year, Phil, he's actually slimmed down by 5 kilos, and that has probably changed his riding quite a bit, and that's probably allowed him to rival some of the great big climbers. And he's also lost an extra couple of kilos since he participated in the Giro d'Italia.
It's all about weight, of course. They used to say you need to come into the race a little bit overweight because of the pressure that goes on the body over 3 weeks. You will lose it anyway, but these boys are slimmed down now. That's a different style of racing these days. This is Sanchez. The Spanish boys perhaps going to perform better than they did in Spain by the look of it, because Mikel Astolosa there is really wanting to drive. They've added 11 seconds on this since the climb started.
Well, there's Roeselare just on the back there. Sebastian Roeselare, the Belgian rider on Team Quickstep. He was dropped just a little bit towards the summit of the Col de Port, but he recovered on the descent and managed to reintegrate the leading group of 9.
So we're looking at the Pyrenees. We're looking at all of the action today. The Col d'Agnès is the next summit and the last one of the day before we go to the finish at Saint-Gaudens. And the good news is, when we come back, we're going to have half-hour commercial free thanks to Nature Valley.
Cervelo has one goal: to engineer the fastest bikes on the planet. Cervelo's newest road bike combines the most advanced features from the entire product lineup, including aerodynamic attributes from the time trial bikes, the comfortable ride of the Paris-Roubaix winning frames, plus improved power transfer and an ultralight layup, making its Grand Tour debut, the Cervelo S3.
It's stinging a little bit more than usual. Yeah, you'll get used to it.
The longer you keep your high mileage car, the more it pays you back. Get Castrol GTX High Mileage. It helps engines last longer by fighting the main causes of engine failure.
I think a dime went up my nose.
Yeah, it happens. Don't change your car, change your oil to Castrol GTX High Mileage. It's more than just oil. It's liquid engineering.
My Impreza has a Subaru Boxer engine. It's perfectly balanced for performance and handling. I love that engine. And I love anyone else who loves a Subaru engine too.
Impreza love knows no bounds. Love. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Lease an Impreza for $179 per month or get 0% APR finance.
Through the years, many things pass from father to son, like Aqua Velva Aftershave. Smells great, cools, firms, and tones. Cool. Aqua Velva, men get it.
Wake up
your whiskers with Electric Shave.
Electric Shave!
Stands up whiskers for an up to 52% closer shave.
Man, that was close.
Electric Shave. Blade close. Electric smooth.
At First Bank, we do not clone nor endorse the cloning of U.S. currency. Would be against international law and a breach of banking ethics. The $50 you receive upon opening a free checking account is real money and has not been duplicated in a covert genetics laboratory. So at your earliest convenience, go to First Bank or visit us online and get $50 that has never been cloned.
Kelly Saunders Nature Valley. The place that inspires her to go faster and slower. Elk Mountains, Colorado. Where's yours? 100% natural Nature Valley granola bars that taste nature intended.
The following half-hour commercial-free coverage of Stage 8 is brought to you by Nature Valley granola bars that taste nature intended.
Welcome back, and the pressure is being put on here. This is an attack by Frederik Willems of the Liquigas team. He's a Belgian rider. That's a cheeky move, considering he's not really a climber. This is now our Nature Valley commercial-free half-hour here on Versus, and we're going to see the climb of the Col d'Agnès in its entirety, what's left of it, about 10 kilometers, and the run down to the finish. Now, look at the pressure being applied by the leaders. This is a veritable sprint here by Mikel Astalosa, Eusketeluscardi. And he's causing a split in the breakaway. I think that's probably what he wanted to do. He has finished off Sebastian Rosler, that's for sure. He came back on the Col de Port on the descent. I think it'll be a tougher opposition now to get back as we're heading for the finish. And that was also Mikhail Ignatieff has gone. But let's go back here now. This is a serious move because this is Frank Schleck, Andy Schleck rather, the champion of Luxembourg, who is now testing the big boys. The action's starting. Well, Armstrong's there, Paul, but what a move this is by Andy Schleck. They're going to go straight by Fabian Cancellara, which is Andy's teammate. This is the next test.
I don't think he's going to go by. You know, Fabian Cancellara, Phil, can see that this is a tactical moment in the race, and he's going to try and lift himself up a fraction if he can to see where they can create a little bit more damage. This was move that was instigated by Andy Schleck. I saw one or two riders coming to the front from Team Saxo Bank, then the next minute, bang, he comes straight out of the pack.
They've called Cancellara from the break to pace Andy at the front of the splintering peloton. That's teamwork for you now, and that can only spell trouble for Nocentini. Or is he really good enough to wear that yellow jersey? And don't forget, Lance Armstrong and Contador are 6 and 8 seconds behind overall. They only need to shake off the yellow by a few yards.
Andy does not care at all here, looks over his shoulder, checking on the damage that he's doing. Most of the big names here, Phil, in the top 15 in the overall standings are there, but I cannot see the yellow jersey.
We are watching the first big move of the day today. Well, the second really. Cadel Evans tried and failed on the Port d'Envalera, but now this is Andy Schleck, proudly wearing the jersey of the champion of Luxembourg. Cancellara has come back, tried to help him, has dropped away now. That's Mikhail Ignatieff. Must wonder what's going on from the breakaway. Look at the speed. They say, you know, Paul, that Andy Schleck is probably the most gifted, natural, talented climber.
You know what I adore, Phil, in the morning is reading the French newspapers, and I was reading the French newspaper Liggett this morning, and they said, oh, well, this year the Schleck brothers are certainly not climbing the way they did last year. But, you know, yesterday's stage didn't really tell us very much at all. And just for reference, Frank Schleck is in this group as well. The two Schleck brothers are present and correct.
I sometimes am convinced that journalists around the world write the stories just to get a little bit of controversy going, because half the time they really don't know what they're writing about, do they?
Well, I have to say that I do know that Frank Schleck and Andy Schleck are both riding very well at the front of that pack, because the moment they accelerated, boom went the main field, and a lot of riders are now left gasping for air. The only sad thing about that move is there's a good 40 kilometers to go from the summit of the climb. Hincapie's under pressure here.
Hincapie managed to make the split when it happened in this breakaway. He got onto the back wheel of Jose Luis Sanchez and of Mikel Astolosa and Vladimir Efekin, but I'm afraid they've lifted the pace just that little bit too much for George, who is not the same talent at climbing as the boys he's falling back from. He's got to drop back into the speed he can handle and then see what happens. This is Sandy Cassar, who almost got onto the leaders, and he's still at the same distance, while Hincapie has come back from the leaders and gone behind Sandy. So the leaders know that they've got to push on if they've got any chance. The old limp left arm there coming from Astolosa was indicating to Sanchez to come through and give him a hand, because they really have got to push on. The third man is Vladimir Efekim. He won't help at all because he's a teammate of the race leader, not Gentini.
No, he's in an ideal position there. He can just sit back and let the other riders do the pacemaking. Andy Schleck not looking for any friends here, but he's trying to create a serious selection. Levi Leipheimer second, Alberto Contador one by one, Phil. They're picking up the remnants of that 9-man breakaway.
That is Sebastian Rosler, who's being swept away here from Belgium on the quick-step team. But the whole of the Astana strength has jumped onto the back wheel there of Alberto Contador. There is Yellow, who is looking to be in trouble. The boys are trying to keep him in sight, but with Contador and Lance Armstrong moving clear, if they finish 6 and 8 seconds ahead of Yellow, he'll be back to at least third tonight.
Well, the yellow jersey's just not got to panic in a situation like this, Phil. They pull back now. Juan Antonio Fletcher looks over his shoulder to see whether or not he's got any teammates in there, and I didn't actually see Denny Menchoff. I saw Bradley Wiggins climbing superbly in this year's Tour de France into the Pyrenees, and I also saw that Christian van der Velde was present. Under a little bit of pressure there going backwards was Kim Kirken.
Kim Kirken in trouble. This is Roman Kreuziger here, lying second in the best young riders competition, and he finished 12th in his first Tour de France last year. This is a viciously hard climb. It's not just the gradient, it is the speed. The race has gone today. It's running about 8 minutes ahead of best time, and they're continuing a pace on the climb. Cassar has ridden really, really well to get back to these three.
He has, in cycling jargon, Phil, pulled himself inside out to get himself into this group, because he realizes if they summit the climb with still an advantage over the group of leaders here, he's got a chance of winning a stage. Number 1, Carlos Sastre. Where is he? Well, he's in the group with all of the main contenders. There at the front you can see all the turquoise jersey. Roman Kreuziger, by the way, Phil, has just come back.
I think he was coming back. I think he missed the split there. He was in the yellow jersey group and he's pedalled up to the leaders. Kirken is also the same situation. We sometimes get lost where our cameras are taking us because we don't know where they're taking us. It looks like they were bridging to the leaders rather than being dropped from the group. Now this is a very, very select group, and if the hammer goes down over the top, they could ride to the finish and try and chase down the leaders. Armstrong is here, Contador is here, Leipheimer is here, Van der Velde is here, Frank and Andy Schleck are here, Carlos Sastre is here. I think Denny Menchoff is even here at the moment. Kreuziger has just caught up. We're back into the band of contenders altogether.
Well, I think Frank Schleck realizes his brother's got great form, so he's going to try and eliminate as many riders as possible. And obviously they're not going to give any gifts out through the Pyrenees to this man, the man who got the yellow jersey yesterday, Ronaldo Nocentini. If they'd ridden a steady tempo, not had that acceleration from Andy Schleck, I think that this young rider here would have stayed in contact. And now he's on the defensive.
He's got to hope he can hold them in his sights and then tip over the top and get the team round him and chase as fast as they can. The only disadvantage to this move is that it is 42 kilometers from the top to the finish. It is a long way. There's the group now, pedalling steadily. They've got themselves into a nice rhythm here at the moment. Staring into the face now of Lance Armstrong, who is now feeling he's on another big move here. Just behind Lance is the UK Renaissance rider, Bradley Wiggins, who's turning into be a big Tour de France rider this year, sitting 5th overall and making no mistakes. Centre, it's Leipheimer. Left is Andy Schleck. Right is Christian van der Velde, who finished 4th last year. This is a group which is now meaning business on the last climb of the day.
Yeah, but Phil, there are so many names there, and we've got so far to go in the Tour de France, and we can't yet put one rider head and shoulders above anybody else. Yes, yesterday Alberto Contador attacked, but what did he get? A few seconds. This race is going to get played out, I think, in the last week. This is just one of the chapters in what's going to be, I think, a great book, a book which we will talk about for many years.
The move has come early as well, because it's 6.7 kilometers still to the summit of the Col d'Agnès. So there's a lot of time to be gained if the fast tempo riding continues here. The yellow jersey could be destroyed on this climb completely.
Well, two Luxembourg riders side by side. On the right-hand side, the champion of Luxembourg, 31, Andy Schleck, riding alongside Kim Kirken, the time trial champion of Luxembourg. This is the face of Levi Leipheimer, a man who, if it wasn't for Armstrong, Contador, Cloden, would be the leader of Team Astana. But here he is, working as a teammate.
It is an amazing situation. They left riders at home on this team who would have walked into any other team in the Tour de France. That's what a tough lineup it is to get selection for Astana. There's two riders from Rabobank at the moment down there. One is certainly Menchov, and I'm just looking for Cadel Evans. He is there too. We've got two riders down there. I suspect that the other rider is probably Jürgen van den Broek, as he rode so well yesterday. Evans also has made it.
Look at the ease on the right-hand side there, though, Phil, of the rider in the red, white and blue jersey, Andy Schleck. And I think once we get to the Alps are going to suit him an awful lot more than anybody else. He's already sort of indicated that after his performance yesterday on the slopes of the Pyrenees. We're looking here into the face of Stéphane Goubert. 39 years of age, Goubert. He's been around for an awful long time, and he's just trying to pace his man, the man who starts the day in the yellow jersey, Rinaldo Nocentini. They mustn't panic like this, because if they try and stay with the attacks that are coming from Schleck and Armstrong and Contador, they will blow up and lose huge chunks of time. If they ride this sensibly, go over the top at 30 seconds or 1 minute behind those leaders, they've got a very good chance of getting back into the race before the finish.
Well, at the moment, they've lost half a minute, and I don't like the look on the face there, or the riding style of the yellow jersey. Somebody better tell Stefan his pace is too high for the maillot jaune. He is in trouble, and he's going to lose over a minute and a half, I reckon, by the top of this climb.
You can't hold that against him, Phil. Yesterday was a long breakaway, a long successful breakaway, and he's still not really been able to recover from the efforts. I did also notice in that group was Bryce Feliu, 23 years of age. What a performance by that kid yesterday. First year as a professional, first professional victory, first mountain stage, first Tour de France, first win.
Absolutely. He's lost the lead in the King of the Mountains today, by the way, because Christophe Kerr went over the Envolira in second place. He's the current leader on the road. Cassar's been stacking up the points. I don't think he'll get enough, though, to move that jersey across. But this was where we expected the riders to hit each other today. They are well aware that the stage today and tomorrow, the mountains end a long way from the finish, so there is time to recover. But if they get 2 or 3 minutes over the top, you won't be seeing them again today. This will be a big result. And obviously now a change of leader, and the obvious shoulders, Alberto Contador.
Well, the leading group of 4, let's not forget, is still holding on a fairly sensible advantage. It's 1 minute and 27 seconds, and that's because they really are putting their backs into this, and most of the work is being done by the two Spanish riders in first and second position. Mikel Astrolosa here in the orange, and Luis Leon Sanchez, a real class act from K-Stepan. He's got a very good ability to time trial. Sandy Cassar is riding on sheer guts here, Phil. He really knows that he has to stay in contact with this group. He's been dropped about 3 times, and every time he's clawed his way back into the lead.
He's the rider who won the stage after getting knocked off by Nelson the dog a couple of years ago, and everybody wrote and asked how the dog was, and not how poor Sandy Cassar was. But the chase group contains everybody that matters right now. Leipheimer, Van der Velde, Schleck, Contador, Armstrong, Bradley Wiggins we must include now, because he is a challenge, it seems. He's coming through the mountains like a good bike rider, sitting in 5th place overall. Van der Velde, I take my hat off to the American, because he's had such a bad injury only just over 6 weeks ago, and he's now still a challenger in this Tour.
Well, he rode a solid time trial to begin with, but I think in the back of his mind it must have been a question mark as to how he was going to handle the mountains. He handled them very well yesterday on the slopes of the Pyrenees. Just seeing that sign there, Phil, I think it was 1 kilometre to go. Was it 5 kilometres to go to the summit? Well, there's still a long way to the top.
Still a long way to the top. Astrolosa is the rider at the back. So as we're watching these 4 make their way, they must stay together, stay as one unit. 49 kilometres we are now from the finish. We're 4 3/4 kilometres from the summit of the Col d'Agnès. These 4 riders have shaken off everybody now, and Sanchez, if he could get just over 4 minutes, he would be the leader of the Tour de France. But it looks as though the chase is now on. And amongst the riders in that chase group is Bradley Wiggins, who's holding on to 5th place overall. Also Armstrong and Contador. The next obvious leader of the Tour right now will be Alberto Contador, rather, not Lance Armstrong. He'd be second, 2 seconds behind. They're pulling away from the Maillot Jaune now quite quickly. Well, having said that, Paul, 30 seconds, he's actually holding it at 30 seconds.
Got it locked in, he's not going to panic. He's an experienced professional, Phil, is Rinaldo Nocentini. He's been a professional since 1999. He was very successful in the amateur level of the sport, a silver medalist at the World Championships. He knows that if he can just hold it, get a rhythm and not lose too much, he will take incredible risks on the descent to pull himself back into this race. And if you're a good descender, going downhill fast, you can pull back anything between a minute and a minute and a half. Absolutely. Well, the peloton themselves has now gone past that 5 kilometre. Remember, we're now enjoying a half-hour commercial-free segment of the Tour de France in the Pyrenees, thanks to Nature Valley. As we watch the riders now lift this tempo. We're heading up to the dizzy heights today of 1,570 metres. That's over 6,500 feet. Once up there, we dive to the finish. 44 kilometres left to race, all downhill. Well, there are the 3 riders, Menchoff, Fletcher, and I'm still missing the 3rd member of Rabobank who is there, but I would say it's Laurens ten Dam because he's been riding so well. But is it Oscar Freire? That would be an interesting combination if it was. There's the face of the Maillot Jaune. We say it, if you pull on a yellow jersey, you ride like 2 men. Nocentini is suffering, but at the moment he's hanging on to the gap. He's coming back because of the efforts of this man on the front, Stéphane Goubert. We've talked about Stéphane Goubert many times throughout the Tour de France as being one of the older, experienced French professional bike riders. They were at one stage 30 seconds in arrears. Yep. He's now pulled it back, Phil, to 21 seconds. He doesn't need to catch this group before the top of the climb, but if he keeps it between 30 seconds to 1 minute, I predict that he will come back on the descent. And I am just stunned by the speed these guys are climbing the mountains today. They look as though they're flying up it. We're only just over 3.5 kilometres from the summit now for the 3 leaders. And Nocentini knows, he's saying, so if I can just get over the top, 35, 40 seconds, 45 seconds back, I've got 42 kilometres to catch up with Contador and Armstrong, and I will stay in yellow tonight. That's all he'll be thinking about. And if the yellow jersey catches up to the Lance Armstrong, Contador and the rest of the challengers group, that will be a good sign for the leading group of 4, because they will then probably give up the chase behind the 4 men. That's right, there's no reason to chase anymore. This is the La Tongue de l'Air, which is in the municipality of the area which we know as Le Port. It's 2 hectares of water down there, and as we've gone around the inside, it must look very welcoming at the moment. It certainly is, and it actually sits in an area which is known as the pick of the 3 seigneurs, and I think we're looking at a more than 3 seigneurs in the sport of professional cycling here this afternoon, because in the group Contador, I think all of the grand seigneurs of the sport are currently present and correct. They've done their battle. They've waited for the Agnès today. The Envolé was sadly too far from the end of the ride. And somebody else just shot into that pack, and I think it was Garati. Yes, but look at the difference. That is the group of the yellow jersey at, what, 5 seconds, and they're very shortly going to all come back together. Goubert's been fantastic. A little bit of a flurry of activity from Andy Schleck giving us an eye-opener as to what we can expect for when we get into the Alps in about 10 days' time. Today, the climb, I think, just a little bit too far away from the finish to dislodge the yellow jersey, but it certainly created a little bit of excitement. Well done, Ronaldo. He's got right back, and when he gets his breath back, he might say, thanks, Stéphane, for that. We're still in the yellow, mate, as they now have settled down again. I think they've eased very slightly at the front here. They really, it's very steep in the middle of the climb. It's shallowed a little bit now. Yes, there's a flat section at around about 3 kilometres to go. Then it kicks back up again to the 8%. Just at the back of the group, as we can see here, the man who took the lead in the King of the Mountains classification yesterday. A great ride by this guy, you know, 23 years of age, Phil. Just behind him is Thomas Voeckler, a stage winner in the Tour de France so far, and the usual style of his, out of the saddle, battling with the machine to stay in contact. But I think we'll talk a lot more about the man on the right at 23 years of age. He really is, I think, going to be a star of the future.
Well, when he got to the finish yesterday at Arcolis, and then at Romain failure, his brother arrived, his elder brother, it was Romain who was in tears because he was so emotionally moved by the fact his younger brother had won a stage in the Pyrenees and pulled on a leader's jersey. Because last year, it was Romain himself who grabbed the yellow jersey for the day at the result of a long breakaway.
Quite remarkable as well, because Romain Feliu finished 28 minutes behind his brother on the stage in the group that we know as the Autobus, alongside Mark Cavendish and most of the other big sprinters.
Look at the tempo here now as Sanchez, the bit between his teeth. He says, I'm winning this stage, I'm going to drive, and I'm not letting anybody catch me up. He's only got 1:36 advantage with the others here. Vladimir Efakhin, he's a teammate of the yellow jersey. He's sitting at the back. We call him the ticket collector, checking on the numbers, doing nothing, just causing a few problems at the back, watching where they're going. But if it came to the finish, I guess he'd go to first place rather than fourth.
There, the yellow jersey moving to the front, and the reason he's done that, Phil, is just to show everybody that he's back in the race. I have recovered and I have returned to the front end of the main field, and you haven't got rid of me just yet.
Zubeldia is dropping back here to go back to Johan Brunel and pick up a bottle. Well, that was a big effort. It's not done the big damage in the end, but it looked as though it was for a while. Now he's collecting the bottles now to get more back to the leaders.
But Phil, that acceleration from Andy Schleck showed us just exactly what we can expect as we start to go forward. Just sliding back through the main field there was David Miller, and he survived today after a very difficult day in the mountains yesterday, where he lost a whole chunk of time.
And he wasn't going off the back of the group, he was going back bottle hunting as well. So clearly they backed off the gas in that group. Now the yellow jersey has rejoined. If he'd have stayed off the back, they'd have kept going. And Mikel Astolosa, who started this split with a tremendous lifting of the pace, he's really struggling now. There's that left arm again. Come on, who's next to do some pacemaking? We're getting up towards the summit of the Col d'Agnès. We are going to have a pretty dramatic chase all the way to the finish after this. There's no more hills.
I think everybody now going to adopt a moment of truce as they realise the action was done at the front end of the main field. They did get rid of the yellow jersey, but he admirably fought his way back to not panic, and that's the important thing, I think, for Nocentini, not to panic in a situation like this. He knows he can't respond to accelerations from an Andy Schleck, but he also knows that if they slow down, he's got a great chance of coming back into the event.
A bit of an acceleration here by B-Box Boyd Telecom. And that should cause a little bit of a reaction, I would think. 1:56 at 1:55. Another Mark Mann, whoever he is, he's just made the move. But if I'm going to have a go at thinking who it is, I'd go for Alexander Pichou or Yuri Trofimov. One of those two are the most likely to try that.
A move here by Vladimir Efemkin. Now, he is the rider who has been in the original group of 10.
He's got the points, hasn't he?
And right now, Phil, he's always been sitting at the back of this group. This is not a move for the points. I think this is a move here to try and get himself a lone victory. Let's not forget, sadly for Efemkin, he won a stage in the Tour de France last year, and hardly anybody knows at all about it, because he finished second on the stage into Bagnères de Bigorre, which is not far away from where we are here, behind Ricardo Rico. Ricardo Rico was later disqualified from that victory because he was found to have had the blood doping.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he will have been told in his race radio that the yellow jersey has recovered and is now okay with the leaders again. So he's not endangering the situation now by having a little dig. He's gone about 1.5 kilometers from the summit, I think, at the moment. But it looks as though Astolosa is recovering here with Sanchez, and they've got rid of Sandy Cassar at the same time. So the attack was worth it.
It certainly was worth it, but the Spanish riders, I don't think you're going to get rid of them quite so easily here this afternoon as they pull themselves back up to Efemkin. And they will be a little bit annoyed by that. They will have found a bit of anger to chase down that man, because when somebody's been sitting behind you for as much as 100 kilometers, then you, well, he's going again. He's
well,
not
whatever
bothered.
They said, he was offended, so he's off again now. That's the second attack. He took a good look at the face there of Astolosa. It's been a mask of pain for about an hour and a half, in fact. It's not just happened, and it looks like Astolosa is still digging deep and dragging Sanchez across to him once again.
You know, a couple of years ago in 2007, the man in second place there in the orange jersey, Astrolosa, he finished in 9th place overall in the Tour de France. So he will not be scared about these big mountains, and he will not be too scared at all about the attacks coming from Vladimir Efimkin. He knows that he can stay in contact with him. And the one who's actually struggling on the front end of his saddle is Luis Leon Sanchez, and he just wants to get over the top of this climb in contact with the group.
Well, there's inspiration. The Basque flag flying on the left of the road for Astrolosa, who rides for a Basque team. And he's done a lot of work here. Sanchez just wants him to drag him along in the hope he can win the finish down in Saint-Gaudens. Once over the top, 44 kilometers to run to the finish. And all of it is downhill. So then the speed merchants will try to get them back.
1 kilometer to go to the summit of the climb. That's going to take them 3 or 4 minutes. And again, Vladimir Efimkin getting out of the saddle. Luis Leon Sanchez there, I think, about to give him a couple of words.
2 leaders likely to change tonight. The King of the Mountains jersey should switch across to Cofidis Christoph Kern. And the green jersey held by Mark Cavendish now for about 5 days. That will swing across to Thor Hushoff, who got the early points in the sprint competition to move ahead there. And just look at this, the boys in blue, they don't even lead the Tour de France, but you'd think they would the way they ride it. Leipheimer on the left of our picture, dead center is Lance Armstrong. Over far right, we just seen peeping in is Alberto Contador. David Miller has come back into the thick of the action, so we have Miller, and we also have Wiggins riding in the ride of his tour ride of his life. Andy Schleck has slipped to the back, but he's not in trouble.
Oh, with the red number on his back, the most aggressive rider of yesterday, Christophe Riblon. He was in the breakaway for a long time, and he's struggling to stay in contact here.
It's a pity he's not in the break again, because he would be back in the lead in the King of the Mountains. But the big points are going still with those 4 riders up front, at least 4 riders up front at the moment. But you know, this infighting, they've eased off the gas. It's 2:20 now. There is Wiggins riding right on the side of some of the finest climbers in the world. And this is a man with 2 Olympic medals on the track last year in Beijing.
And they were gold. He's looking here very comfortable, just concentrated on his style. Over to his left-hand side is his teammate, Christian van der Velde, 4th overall in the Tour de France last year. Andy Schleck just tested his legs a little bit this afternoon, but he really is quite relaxed, and I reckon we're going to see a little bit of fun from Andy Schleck once we get into the big high mountains of the Alps, and why not tomorrow on the slopes of the Col de Tourmalet.
He's in no trouble at all. He's going to pedal back to this group. He's looking after himself very well. He's still got to be considered a favourite for this year's Tour de France, Andy Schleck. He's just up against an incredibly strong team from Astana, and they've been doing all the dictating of the pace. They're answering all the attacks too. They're not allowing the men they fear to go very far. When Cadel Evans attacked from the gun this morning, he got about half a minute. It went out to about 45 seconds, and then they reacted, and they hauled him back on the way down into the valley around Axley Turn.
Luis Leon Sanchez has come to the front now to set the pace-making. Astrolosa going by him to try and get himself maximum points. Now, he will have amassed a fair number of points on the race route here this afternoon as well. So he goes over the top there, Phil, to get maximum points ahead of Sanchez and Efimkin in 3rd place. Now, with 2.5 minutes advantage over the top of this climb with 44 kilometers to go, those 3 riders have got a very good chance of surviving, because I'm not sure who is going to chase them on the descent.
Well, just looking here at the pack, they've turned off completely on this steady climb. The clock is now counting on the leaders over the top. They're not really chasing. I think it'll be 2.5 minutes before these boys get over the summit. That'll be the gap for the last 44 kilometers to the finish. As I say, the contours make it look like a plunge into the valley, back down to the Ariège River and in to Saint-Gaudens. We're past through the town. It's a bit narrow in the town, but they weren't expecting a big bunch sprint to charge through. And then they go out onto the outskirts, the Avenue de la Résistance, and that's where they'll finish today.
David Miller looking very comfortable at the front end of the main field, and he's got 2 very solid teammates in the group with him. Bradley Wiggins starts the day in 5th place overall, as the 3 leaders now, Phil, that start this descent, which is a fairly technical descent, and they can afford to take the risks.
Well, they need to take the risks now. They've done all the hard work for the day. Let's face it, they've been really in the front of the action since we left Andorra, because we started on the climb of the Port d'Envalira. That's where it all shook out. And then gradually, once the main field brought back Cadell Evans. The others were allowed their head as they countered the attack. They split the leading group up on the climb of the Dagnès, and one by one they're being swept up by the Armstrong Contador group here, and I have to say now the Nocentini group, because he's back in that yellow jersey.
Frank Schleck with his jersey open there. Behind him in the red, white and blue is his brother Andy Schleck. And a lot of riders in this group also from Team Cofidis. The rider over on the left-hand side in the red shorts there is David Moncoutier. He tried very hard in the early part of the stage here, Phil, to get himself off the front end. And he was looking for the breakaway today. He'd said before the start of the tour he wanted to get in a long raid on one of these mountain stages. Well, maybe he'll have a chance again tomorrow.
Well, at the moment, computers indicating that the green jersey of Mark Cavendish is in the peloton. Well, I can assure you it isn't. Poor Mark was in trouble today at the start of the climb of the Envolira. He's got to come home inside the time limit. That's the first problem of the day. I hope he will do that, and I'm sure he will. He's a fighter. But it means today, because of the small sprint victories out on course by Thor Hushoff, he took 12 points today early on when he was up with the front runners. And as a result of that, he is now the new green jersey wearer by 11 points. 2:42, I think it was, over the top, Paul.
Yep, 2:42, 2:41. That was Haimar Zubeldia of Team Astana leading them over the summit of the climb. And now they're just going to cruise down the descent. Now, the main field here, they won't take too many risks on the run in here, because this is rather a precarious, dangerous descent. You can see the road surface is made of gravel, but every now and again, Phil, because of the heat today, the tar has melted.
Just look at
Kassar is going to get himself back.
He's dropped off on the way up, but he's going to descend like a maniac to get himself on the way down. He's got a speed wobble on there. The cars are seeing him coming. They're moving out the way. He's past the chief referee's car now. Just the brake is in front. Sandy Kassar is back in the frame here, and he's won stages from breakaways before in this part of the world, so he'll be up there very, very shortly. Well, just look at the style of this man on the way down. Slams those brakes on to get round the corner. Astalos is attacking him. He knows he's coming back. Sanchez, not too sure whether he wants to take this up. Efekim doesn't really care. He's dropped into third place, and that's what he intends to say. Stand by for the white tornado going past our camera. There he is. And so we're on our way. Well, that's the end of our Nature Valley commercial-free half hour. We'll just take a short break. We'll be back, and it looks like we're heading for the finish with 4 riders against the Armstrong Contador bunch today. See you back here in just a moment.
Kelly Saunders Nature Valley. The place that inspires her to go faster and slower. Elk Mountains, Colorado. Where's yours? 100% natural Nature Valley granola bars that taste nature intended.
Here's Ryan getting ready to make his approach to the men's room.
Looks like he needs to go urgently.
True. And there's Casey about to drive also to the men's room.
He has been going over and over.
They ought to see their doctors.
Could be male urinary symptoms due to BPH and enlarged prostate.
For many guys, prescription Flomax reduces their urinary symptoms due to BPH in 1 week.
And if their doctors do prescribe Flomax, they could get up to $40 off new or refill prescriptions.
So guys already on Flomax can also save. Only your doctor can tell if you have BPH, not a more serious condition like prostate cancer.
Avoid driving or hazardous tasks for 12 hours after your first dose or increase in dose, as a sudden drop in blood pressure may occur, rarely resulting in fainting.
If considering cataract surgery, tell your eye surgeon you've taken Flomax. Common side effects are runny nose, dizziness, and decrease in semen.
Ask your doctor if Flomax is right for you.
And call 877-4FLOMAX for more information and to see if you qualify for up to $40 off new or refill prescriptions.
For many men, Flomax can make a difference in 1 week.
The relationship you have with your car isn't so different from your other relationships. Some burn hot and fast, but don't last very long. Some burn for a while, but don't throw much heat. And some smolder beautifully for a long time.
The award-winning Cadillac CTS sedan. And coming soon, the all-new CTS Sport Wagon.
Y'all loving your McCafe experience? Good, because here's something else to love. Free McCafe Mondays at McDonald's. Enjoy a sweet, scintillating sample of chocolate bliss that'll leave you shivering for more, and you thought we couldn't get any cooler. Or warm your soul with a chocolate and coffee combo that'll send you to mocha heaven. Only thing better is that it's free. They give me the light, so I give you McCafe.
Before the start of the race, I can feel my heartbeat in my hands, in my throat, in my eyes, everywhere. Fear and the stress, it makes me better. What do I see at 230 miles an hour? It's tunnel vision, and you have one goal, the checker flag. Speed is about winning races, breaking records, and making history. Speed is my drug.
Welcome back. Well, don't forget the Tour de France on Versus, the most epic race ever. Sign up for the Road ID Tour Challenge, powered by mapmyride.com and Versus. You could win a trip to Paris and see the winner of this year's Tour de France cross the finishing line. Provided by Trek Travel. The trip, that's the Tour de France at versus.com. Well, as the Tour de France resumes, don't forget at 8 Eastern Time every evening, we bring you right up to date with the day's action in the Tour de France. We have extended interviews we can't show you during our live coverage. So my next question is to Craig Hummer, and sit up straight, Bob Roll. What's in the show tonight, boys?
Well, we understand, Phil, both you and Paul are going to join us. We're going to have an Ask Bobke that has to do with how people at home can join us. Isn't that true?
Yes, people are curious about coming to the... You cannot watch the Tour de France on TV and not dream about one day visiting this great event. I recommend it highly.
An exciting race, as you guys know, going on. So get to it.
Thanks very much, Craig. Well, I'm in that lovely position where I can watch the Tour de France and watch it on television. And it's been another great race today, hasn't it? There he is, Paul. George Hincapie on the descent. We're not sure where he is, but I think he's coming back to the leaders.
Yes, the race situation, there's still 4 riders off the front. Astroloza, Efemkin, Sandy Cassar and Luis Leon Sanchez. Hincapie is lying in 5th place on the road. He was tailed off just before the summit of the climb, and he is one of the great descenders of the sport, so he will take great risks, use a lot of power to try and get himself back up to those leading 4. We're given information that he's at 1 minute and 15 seconds, but that is the kind of gap, Phil, you can wipe away on a technical descent.
Well, it was an advantage the boys up front because they're all good climbers, but put George downhill and on the flat, and this man can ride a time trial on his own. So they're not safe now, that's for sure.
No, and they will probably know that George Hincapie is on his way back. He's halfway between the leading group of 4 and the main field, who are still just inside of 3 minutes in arrears. If George Hincapie makes the contact with this group of 5, I wonder if Lance Armstrong will get Team Astana to chase him down.
He mustn't, because they're still the best of friends, but they're on rival teams. It must be very strange for them both in many ways, because George Hincapie was always on the team with Lance Armstrong. Once Lance retired, George got his own team, which he's very happy with, and now he's actually Lance's rival on the bike.
But it's the first time, Phil, they've ever ridden the Tour de France on opposing teams in the whole of their careers, both of them.
That's absolutely right. So the sun is right over the head here of Sandy Cassar, who has raced himself back into this race today. I've got a feeling this breakaway will succeed, because why chase it down? It's a status quo back in that main field now. The pressure is off. If AG2R want to chase it down, the boys will follow. Otherwise, it'll run to the finish. And Lance Armstrong is not going to worry about the whereabouts of Nocentini. They've seen now they can crack him in the Pyrenees. Maybe try again tomorrow. So as the race continues, let me remind you of the chalk bot, Nike chalk bot. This is, we just ran over, if you saw that writing on the road, that was where the riders just passed, and you can be part of this. The chalk bot could be writing your messages on certain stages throughout the Tour de France. To find out more, just go to wearyellow.com and get your message on the road. And we're looking at the moment of George Hincapie leaning into that corner, desperately trying to get across that gap of 1 minute. So he's just about, he's about half a mile, I suppose, behind those leaders. So he's got a bit of work to do, but time is on his side. He's about 38 kilometers to go, something like that. This is the high-speed descent now of the leaders of the Tour de France, well, the main field of the Tour de France, as they continue a regular descent. They're not pedaling and pushing to the limits here. No point in taking risks to chase down four riders who are not changing the destiny at the moment of the yellow jersey. The big interest is whether George Hincapie can cross the gap and make the most of it.
Well, he will do everything he can. He'll take massive risks going around the corners, but he really needs to get himself to around about 30 or 40 seconds before he gets to the Valley Road, because once they go onto the flat part of the course and they're running down towards the finish line here in Saint-Gaudens, you will see that group of four riders at the front start to work together, setting the pacemaking. That makes it very difficult for one man to come across on his own.
These are the four leaders. Luis Leon Sanchez won in Aurillac last year, his first ever stage win in the Tour de France, the only one he's had. He's flicking his arm now, asking Sandy Cassar to take up the running. Well, Sandy will work well. They all know that George Hincapie is coming, and they all well know the capability of that rider. Boy, there are some famous faces from the Tour de France there,
including Daniel Monjas, the speaker, just up at the top there. He's been on the Tour de France for more than 30 years, Daniel Monjas. He was commentating when I was riding.
He was indeed, and what a brilliant brain he's got on knowing all the bike riders, and they all know him as well. Astaloza still setting the pace here. So we've been doing just under 4 hours today in the Tour de France. Everybody's waking up, I hope, on the West Coast now as we head to mid to late afternoon here in France. We've got around about 30 kilometers to go, so we'll take another break.
These two here, guys. It's all good, man. Don't sweat it. Don't worry about it. You know what? Follow me. There you go, guys. Enjoy the games.
Heineken Light, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hey, guys. Can you pass me one? Please?
Heineken Light. Give yourself a good name.
Just another perfect day. I think I'll walk this way where the trees do sing. I'm feeling part of everything, and all my troubles seem to fade away. Skies look brighter.
The hybrid for everyone is here. The Insight, designed and priced for us all from Honda.
Is this your house?
Now it's your house, too.
Why don't you do something nice for Mommy? Show her how much you love her.
That's a wonderful idea.
I think there could be something wrong with Esther.
In every family, there are secrets we hide and truths we can't escape.
I want her out of this house. I'm going to do whatever it takes to protect my children.
What did you do?
Orphan, rated R, starts July 24th.
Through the years, many things pass from father to son, like Aqua Velva Aftershave. Smells great, cools, firms, and tones. Cool. Aqua Velva, men get it.
Wake up your whiskers with Electric Shave.
Electric Shave!
Stands up whiskers for an up to 52% closer shave.
Man, that was close.
Electric Shave. Blade close. Electric smooth.
There's more excitement coming to Blackhawk. Are you ready for Blackhawk's 24-hour fun? Blackhawk, bet up to $100. Are you ready for the thrill of craps and roulette? Same Blackhawk, more ways to win. Now playing.
Versus delivers sports from soup.
Sports soup for everyone!
To nuts. First at 11. No one in the sports world can hide from Sports Soup's Matt Eisman. Then, pride and passion mix with a dose of insanity when the fans take over on Fanarchy.
I'm gonna eat this cat!
Sports Soup and Fanarchy. Tuesday night, only on Versus.
Welcome back. Our Trek aerial view today here in the Pyrenees. This is the Laudar Castle, or Chateau Laudar, 10th, 11th century, the stronghold of the Count of Foix. And we didn't go into Foix this year, but we've gone very close to it. All happened in 1034. It's transferred to the Count of Carcassonne. That's the other beautiful walled city, not too far away from where we're racing today. Back to the leaders. All these four riders still enjoying life at the front. I think they've done enough to win the race today. One of them, at least, George Hincapie, is slipping back to the peloton. So there's the work being done. Sandy Cassar, he always is willing to work hard, repair the damage if it happens, and he's been strong all day. First over the top of the Porte d'Envolira. This is the rider in the white jersey with the blue jokers on it, because it is a lotto company that sponsors Française des Jeux. And now he's got a real chance. It's a very interesting finish, Paul. We're all talking about Sanchez winning today, and I think they will stay away. But Vladimir Efekin, he's had the job of just being a policeman for the race leader. Hasn't done a lot of work, and he'll look to make a move that might win the day for them. And that would be a perfect day, wouldn't it?
It would be a perfect day for them. Efekin, though, Phil, is not a great winner, and that's the difference, I think, and that's where I would give the advantage to Luis Leon Sanchez, because Sanchez knows how to win bike races. He's been very successful so far this season. Probably the biggest victory he had was, of course, the Tour of Paris-Nice, which goes from Paris to Nice in the month of March, and he won the 7th stage. And the man who he took the lead away from was a certain Alberto Contador.
Yes, a good time to remind them of that, isn't it? But the work is all being done by the team of Astana, and they don't even have the leader of the Tour de France on their team yet. But they've seen today, Paul, that they have the ability to crack Nocentini. He went on the Col d'Agnès. He lost time, sheer guts, and the fact he had a very strong man in one of the oldest men in the race, Stefan Goubert, to close that gap back up to the leaders. Once he got back, of course, they virtually stopped racing because they knew there was no point. Lived to fight another day, I guess, and that has done the leaders up front a huge favour, because at 2 minutes 48, nearly the biggest lead they've had all day, they are now stretching the elastic to its limit. Saint-Giron, here come the foursome.
Yes, but Phil, the big question mark, having left all of the big mountains behind us on today's stage, is tomorrow we do have a massive big mountain, the Col de Tourmalet, climbing to over 2,000 meters in altitude. If they got rid of the leader Nocentini today by a few seconds on the slopes of the climb, I think we will have a big battle on the Tourmalet tomorrow, because it's a legendary climb, and we may well see only 7, 8 or 9 riders in a group of the leaders going over the top there, and that could be the end of Renato Nocentini.
But again, it's a long way to the finish after the Col de Tourmalet tomorrow, so he could chase back, but that's another day. Today is today, of course. At 2:20, 2:50 is the spread. Hincapie, I think, is still stuck in no man's land.
Still about 20 seconds off the front end of this group. He knows he's got a bunch of teammates in the group, and just looking over his shoulder there is Maxime Montfort. And quite surprisingly, Maxime Montfort is the 2nd place rider of Team High Road Columbia. He starts the day in 12th place overall. He's a Belgian, but he's actually a very good stage race rider.
Sylvain Chavanel sat at the back there, taking on late lunch. As again we look across the beautiful area of the Ariège, and the peloton heading down the valley for Saint-Giron. As well, still got a bit of a head of steam on that peloton. 2:46 the gap now. Heading the charge at the front of 4 men, trying to make Saint-Giron first. 2 minutes 47 seconds is the gap. It should be enough. We'll just see what the reaction is. I'm not too sure how many sprinters of sprinting quality are left in the bunch today, because a lot lost ground. Tom Bone and Mark Cavendish were dropped on the climb of the Porte d'Envolira, and they haven't come back to the race today. So they'll be racing just to save themselves to stay in the Tour de France, because there's always elimination times based on the time of the winner, and it's been a very fast race today.
Big George Hincapie, 36th overall at the start of the day, looking over his shoulder, pretty much saying, come on lads, where are you? Can't you catch me up?
It is
I'm
amazing.
fed up of being on my own.
Enjoy the rest while you can, George. So as they slowly stretch out, 2:44, the peloton is back now. George is just willing the peloton to come and join him. He'll finish in the peloton as well, even though he's been in the break for most of the day today, because be able to get lost in there and save himself some energy. 25 kilometers to go. That'll be a good sign for these 4 riders that they see that. Mark Cavendish was in the points lead, no longer now. He's lost the green jersey, at least for the moment, to Tor Hushoff of Norway. See you in a moment.
It's not about me.
It's about my sister.
It's about my dogs. Hang on.
It's about my son.
It's about sharing my story.
So people can compare their stories to mine.
Getting back to the mountain, it was a struggle.
I was on the highest mountain in the world, fighting for my life.
If I can get through 6 rounds of chemo,
Then 50 below.
100-mile-an-hour winds.
Pitching a no-hitter
Seems easy.
It's about you.
Get 1,000 Hilton Honors bonus points when you stay with us. Real value from your friends at Hampton. When your engine's running clean, you feel it. And Pennzoil Motor Oil actively cleans out up to 15% of sludge the first time you use it. So feel the clean. Not just oil, Pennzoil.
Hi, may I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for car insurance that isn't going to break the bank.
You're in the right place. Only Progressive gives you the option to name your price. Here.
A price gun?
Mm-hmm.
So I tell you what I want to pay.
And we build you a policy to fit your budget.
That's cool. Feel so empowered.
Power to the people.
The option to name your price. New and only from Progressive. Call or click today.
If your lawn looks like this, and you can do this, in just 2 weeks, your lawn could look like this. Introducing Patch Perfect, the incredible power-growing grass seed that grows faster, thicker, and fuller than any grass seed you've ever used, guaranteed. Just spread it and forget it. Patch Perfect grows like crazy anywhere. This is an ordinary grass seed, and this is a Patch Perfect seed. You can see the difference. The Patch Perfect growing secret is its powerful fertilizer mulch cocoon that surrounds each seed, soaking up and retaining water. It's like each seed has its own ecosystem. We place Patch Perfect directly on top of concrete blocks without dirt or mulch, and the grass still grows. It grows anywhere. Why would you settle for an ugly lawn like this when you can have a rich, full, beautiful green lawn like this? Patch Perfect is available now at the landscaper's direct price of only $19.95. But wait, call right now and we'll double size your order. Get growing with Patch Perfect. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-898-2336 to order your Patch Perfect. That's 1-800-898-2336. Call now.
Growing up in a family with my dad winning the Indy 500, you take some heat. There's really no sport like it. We're inches apart, wheel to wheel, and one touch, and you're gone. It's a crazy lifestyle. That's how it goes.
Welcome back. We're still in the valley of the Ariège here as the riders continue to course their way towards the finish. High speed indeed, but everybody's pedaling at high speed today. This race running ahead of schedule, and Kurt Adelhausen had a little dig on the right of the road. Just as Lance was looking right, Adelhausen went, and then Astana quickly got themselves organised here, got hold of the handlebars and started kicking. So a huge effort by Arvis. I'm not too sure. Here's, just look at this here. Then they suddenly look across the road and they say, hey, there's been an attack, we better get stuck in. That's a quick reaction, and they've caught him, so it's all over. But if they keep doing that leading breakaway, 2.5 minutes now, they'll bring it back for sure. They've still got time. 13.7 miles to the finish. Yep, there's still time. But they'll keep very, very regular here as the riders continue. 4 riders in the lead today, and they won't affect the overall lead. Final warning, folks, you must go on to versus.com, Ride of Your Life, and take part in our Cadillac Ride of Your Life sweepstakes. You could be on the 2010 Tour de France, and you could be riding a Cervelo S2 bike, or you could be wearing a yellow jersey or a polka dot jersey. That's the word you need to jump on board, and it's climb today. Speed over the ground of 2 big riders, 2 big fields in the Tour de France today. There'll be another big field chasing to get back. So as we look, Paul, at the main peloton here, one has to have a point of conjecture. Just where is the green jersey of Mark Cavendish, the champion of Belgium's jersey of Tom Bonen? And because they went off on the first climb of the day, are they in danger of being eliminated? It's been a fast day.
Been a very fast day, but that actually is an advantage for sprinters, because the faster the average speed of the winner, the more percentage you have to get inside the winner's time. And it goes up on a mountain stage like this to sometimes 15 to 18% if they've gone in excess of probably 34, 35 kilometers an hour, which they have done today.
Which they indeed have, yeah. Okay, well, that makes sense. So let's hope that the boys will get in, because once we leave the Pyrenees after tomorrow, we have a day off, and then we have a few flat stages through mid-France up towards the north and across to the east.
Well, I'll just tell you one little anecdote as well, because you know that I was not very good on these mountain stages in the Tour de France, and the night before I used to take every possible average speed that the race could have and figure out just exactly how many minutes I had to get inside of the elimination time. And the guys in the main group behind the autobus, they will have calculated that already, and they will know how hard they have to ride over this flat valley stage. And if they feel that they're getting close to the elimination time, you'll have a whole 30 or 40 or 50 riders working like in one big team time trial to make sure they don't get eliminated. They're very crafty, the sprinters. They're survivors.
Well, that's what the whole of the Tour de France is about, survival, and make sure you get to Paris. Robbie McEwen is the best exponent of this. Sadly, the Australian sprinter not being able to ride this year because of his broken leg.
But he's actually following the Tour de France every day. I've been looking at Robbie McEwen's Twitter site. He's encouraging the sprinters. He's telling me which sprinters he reckons is going to win, and he wishes he was here. And he, on these last couple of days, has wished them a lot of luck on getting through the mountains, because Robbie also used to suffer like a dog on these mountain stages.
Certainly. I wish you were here too, Robbie, if you're watching, but next year, eh? Well, we're looking at Luis Leon Sanchez. Possible winner today, if he can, because he's done it before at this time of the Tour de France, not too far away. Looking straight into Sandy Cassar here, as now he starts to settle in with this breakaway. They'll be feeling they're reasonably safe, providing that peloton keeps its steady riding, doesn't lift the pace because of the few sprinters who are left. And I think that this rider will, in fact, have a good chance of winning. At what point do you think somebody will try to slip away?
Well, the sad thing is it's pretty flat on the run in towards the finish, so there's no real places where you can use as a launch pad to jump out of the pack. Probably the ideal place to try and jump clear if you want to survive these guys is between 2 and 3 kilometers to go. I don't think we'll see a move coming from Sanchez, because Sanchez probably feels that he's got the ability to win this in the sprint. He's the most prolific winner of the leading group of 4. I would expect the move to come from that man we were just looking at, Vladimir Efimkin. He jumped out of the pack last year on the run in towards Bagnères de Bigorre for 2nd place, and he probably feels that his best chance of success is a last minute attack.
Well, that's what he did in Aurillac when he got his stage win, and so let's see if he can do it again. Astolosa has ridden terrifically strongly today. He deserves the win, I think. I'd possibly vote him the most aggressive rider of the breakaway.
And if we were looking at a popular victory, I would say we would probably vote for Mikel Astolosa, because he's never actually crossed the finishing line of a bike race in first place and thrown his hands up in victory, although he did win the Jacobs Creek Tour Down Under because of his permanent riding at the front end of the pack.
That's absolutely right. Well, we're heading up to the sprint of the day here, the last one. And then it's 17 kilometers to go once to go over. Now, nobody's interested in this now. Earlier on, of course, the first 2 sprints, Thor Hushoff was in the break. He was very interested. 6 points for the win in the green jersey competition, and the 12 points he gained has given him the green jersey lead tonight. So it might be a little wait before he comes in to the situation. 20 kilometers to go for the peloton. The gap is holding nice steady now, so I doubt very much they're going to shut down on those 4 leaders as they are approaching the sprint here with a lead of 2 minutes 40. Now let's have a look, see if they're going to launch a sprint. There's no reason to sprint here. It's €800, which is around $1,300. And Efimkin doesn't even want to worry about the sprint, he just wants a drink, because now we're inside 20 to go. Unless they've changed the rules, he's touching on the illegal here, and they'll get fined and penalised seconds if it's the 2nd or 3rd offence. But sometimes the referees announce that they'll allow it till 10 kilometres to go. And I would think that's the case today because of the mountains. So there's the sprint. Cassar taking it, just to remind everybody he is there. Good time for me to remind you about our Versus Fantasy Cycling Challenge. You can't compete in the competition for the overall prizes now, but you can certainly name your team and enjoy seeing how it fares every day and win the daily prizes. You get all of the information at versus.com. That's the Versus Fantasy. Well, there is the finishing line. Looks like my sweets have just arrived there, so I'll probably go out and get a packet while we take a break. But we're ready at the finish.
Every race is a battle, measured in fractions of a second, fought with a philosophy we call system integration, an approach to engineering where every motion of every rider, of every Super 6, is channeled into forward motion to maximize performance. Let the battle begin.
Choosing a car is like trying on a dress. As soon as you slip into it, you know it's the one. But you still turn around to see the back. Because let's face it, you want them to hate to see you go, but love to watch you leave.
Introducing the all-new Cadillac CTS Sport Wagon.
Y'all loving your McCafe experience? Good, because here's something else to love. Free McCafe Mondays at McDonald's. Enjoy a sweet, scintillating sample of chocolate bliss that'll leave you shivering for more, and you thought we couldn't get any cooler. Or warm your soul with a chocolate and coffee combo that'll send you to mocha heaven. Only thing better is that it's free. They give me the light, so I give you McCafe.
It's stinging a little bit more than usual.
Yeah, you'll get used to it. The longer you keep your high mileage car, the more it pays you back. Get Castrol GTX High Mileage. It helps engines last longer by fighting the main causes of engine failure.
I think a dime went up my nose.
Yeah, it happens. Don't change your car, change your oil to Castrol GTX High Mileage. It's more than just oil. It's liquid engineering.
Buckle up, everybody, because we're taking a ride that can strain your relationships and hurt your pride. It's the credit roller coaster, and as you can see, it kind of bites. So sing the lyrics with me. When your debt goes up, your score goes down. When you pay a little off, it goes the other way round. It's just the same for everybody, every boy and girl. The credit roller coaster makes you want to hurl. So throw your hands in the air and wave them around like a wannabe frat boy trying to get down and bring them right back to where your laptop's at. Log on to freecreditreport.com. Free credit score and report with enrollment and triple advantage.
When the light comes on, just come in. Pep Boys.
This week, Manny, Mo, and Jack bring you the Pep Boys Tire Celebration. Buy one tire for as low as $24.99. Buy any 2 tires, get a free oil change. Buy any 3 tires and get the 4th tire free. Through Sunday, get a Pennzoil do-it-yourself oil change, just $9.99. When the light comes on, just come in.
Pep Boys does everything for less.
Call 1-800-PEP-BOYS or visit pepboys.com.
The Peddlers of Charm are back in action there as we came through the mountains again today, but we've been left with 4 men at the front now. A little bit of a ripple there, but all back together. Mikel Astalosa is in orange. Sandy Cassar, a second rider. Luis Sanchez is the third rider. And at the back here, as he always is, because he's a teammate of Rinaldo Nocentini, the race leader, Vladimir Efekim of Russia. Now, as we look at the leaders here, let's have a look at the flashback. 2 of these riders have won stages in the last year, the last 2 years, in fact. So let's have a look. I'll take you through it. This is the flashback to Sandy Cassar, who was winning here in Angoulême after he'd been knocked off by Nelson the Dogs. And you look at his jersey under his arm there, still in tatters. Didn't stop him winning the stage with a brilliant tactical move, just coming into the finishing straight. He went before they realised it. And then this was last year in Aurillac, where Luis Sanchez got away and held off the whole field on a long straight. That was a very difficult finish, and a strong man, only a strong man, could win that one. So those two, and Efekim has also had a stage win, but he never crossed the line first. That was on the disqualification of Rico for taking drugs last year. So Astolosa has never crossed the line first in a race. So that's the situation. Astolosa then, Paul, never as a professional a winner of an actual race, although he won the Tour Down Under in Australia overall. So let's all back him.
I think we ought to. He certainly deserves to get across the line in first place. David Miller on the right-hand side there, moving up and down this pack. He's looking after the interests here this afternoon of Bradley Wiggins, and of course he's looking after the interests of Christian van der Velde. And he's come up to the front, and he's spoken to a couple of riders to say, okay, let's all start working together and setting the pacemaking. They're not going to catch those leaders, but what they want to do is to make sure they reduce the time advantage that the four men have at the front of the pack. All of the main contenders, Phil, are in this leading group that we're looking at. The only real missing out person who's missing out is actually Mark Cavendish, and that's not a surprise because that certainly is not his terrain.
That's absolutely right. It was quite comical at the start today. Mark Cavendish came to the start, and the man who's been really pushing him in the sprints is Tyler Farrar, the American rider. Tyler came up, lined up directly behind him in his slipstream, and Mark turned around and says, no good following me today to beat me in the sprint, because I'm going to have a problem when we leave town. And it exactly happened that way.
It was a very rapid first 2 hours of racing. In fact, it's been a very rapid whole mountain stage. And
great day of racing, actually.
Interested to see just exactly what the average speed is on a day like this, because it could very well be closely up to 40 kilometers an hour, which is pretty much unheard of in the mountains.
Familiar style here, David Miller, who's a very, very good time trial rider. He's won the prologue before now, and he's worn the yellow jersey in the Tour de France. Rides on the American Garmin Slipstream team, and he's got his two top boys up here, and they've been there all day, never looking like cracking. Bradley Wiggins from the UK and Christian van der Velde from the USA. They've got two real finds on that Garmin team this year. Never seen Wiggins ride so well in a Tour de France.
Yes, Bradley Wiggins, Phil, lying in 5th place, just 46 seconds off the overall lead. And of course Christian van der Velde 1 minute and 24 in 8th place, and they've still got a lot more work to do. But it is, I think, today and yesterday we've not really seen anybody head and shoulders above anyone else in the Tour de France in the mountains. And I think tomorrow may well be the first big test, because whatever happens on the Col de Tourmalet, when you go over the summit of that climb, you've got to try hard just to get over the top of it.
Yeah, it's a long way from the finish, but it's a long chase down as well. Sanchez has been the line of the workers in the breakaway, 45%. The computer says he's been doing in this breakaway. Astolosa 31%, and for Efekim at the back, he's credited with doing only 6% of the effort in this breakaway. And you know, he is the man who could therefore succeed with a bit of a surprise. They're saying that the breakaway will succeed today on the computer. Mind you, they said they were going to get caught yesterday, and they didn't.
Well, I don't think you have to be a brain surgeon to figure out this afternoon that with 10 kilometers to go and almost 2.5 minutes advantage, those guys will win the stage. It's just a question of how much by. Looking at the main field, though, that is not a main field that's hanging out at all in this beautiful valley in the Pyrenees. They really got the hammer down. They want to reduce that time gap as much as possible. They don't want to give any presents to Luis Leon Sanchez, because he's the kind of rider that if he gets a minute today and gets a minute tomorrow, he could be right up in the top 5.
Miller looks as though he's going to sleep on the handlebars there. He's just keeping that steady tempo. This is not a chase. This is just steady tempo riding. AG2R rather grateful he's come along to give them a hand. And after a bit of a shock on the Col d'Agnès, it looks as though Team AG2R are going to watch their man go up for his second yellow jersey today, because all of the riders, if they come in together, are given the same time. These boys had to win by 4 minutes and 20 seconds to give Sanchez the maillot jaune. That's not going to happen now. We are now approaching 10 kilometers to go as they go under the banner here. Seeing that 10-kilometer banner for the four riders, they know now that the lead is enough to get to the finish. In the next 5 kilometers or so, they're going to start thinking privately. How do we outwit one another? And I think somebody's got to go early. These 4 guys, I think, will cross the line, Paul, with time gaps between them at the end.
And that's the difficult thing when you've been away for such a long period of time.
There's a lovely valley road, and not many spectators here because you can't get your car down. Then you can't get it out again because there's no way out of the valley road just now. So that's why we're driving a lonely trail through the Pyrenees just now, heading to Saint-Gaudens. We are just under 10 kilometers for the leaders. That puts us about 14 minutes away from the finishing line. Just which one of these will win? Place your bets now. We'll take a break.
TireRack.com. We don't just sell tires, we test them on our test track and on real-world roads. We stock nearly 1 million tires. That's the largest selection anywhere. And TireRack delivers to you or thousands of our independent recommended installers, usually in just 2 business days. All this at prices that won't leave you flat. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
12 summers of boat hauling. 6 minutes to soccer practice. 63 miles of commuting daily. For any extreme, from the road to the racetrack, nothing beats Mobil 1, the official motor oil of NASCAR, and the choice of over half of all NASCAR teams. So put some NASCAR in your car with the One, Mobil 1.
Tuesday, Versus delivers sports from soup.
Sports soup for everyone!
To nuts. First at 11. No one in the sports world can hide from Sports Soup's Matt Eisman. Then, pride and passion mix with a dose of insanity when the fans take over on Fanarchy.
I'm gonna eat this cat.
Sports Soup and Fanarchy. Tuesday night only.
The latest Turtle Wax breakthrough in car polish is Clear. Crystal Clear Turtle Wax Ice. A clarified synthetic carnauba that performs like no other polish or wax. Ice leaves no white residue on trim or in seams.
I had no residue whatsoever. It was perfect. Clear and deep, really brings out the shine.
Ice is so advanced, you can use it in the hot sun with outstanding results. Now, your choice is clear. Crystal Clear Ice from Turtle Wax. World leader through innovation.
What's up, Kat? I'm reading an article about that new show, It's On, with Alexa Chung.
What? Alexa's live show will allow her to say and do whatever she wants.
True that.
Then why are you wasting your time?
Because that jacket she's wearing is fierce.
I saw it first.
It's On with Alexa Chung, weekdays at noon.
For adventurous birthday parties and group outings, check out the amazing mini golf, go-karts, and dueling dragsters at Adventure Golf and Raceway. Call or click now for low group rates.
Let's all paint the town red and white, black and brown. Watch the colors dry. They mix so well, it's no surprise. We are all in this together. Let's all build a home, gather up the friends you know. Somewhere we can go. We'll make it.
The hybrid for everyone is here. The Insight, designed and priced for us all, from Honda.
Is this your house?
Now it's your house, too.
I think there's something wrong with Esther.
In every family, there are secrets we hide.
I'm going to do whatever it takes to protect my children.
What did you do?
Orphan, rated R.
Roundup Extended Control does 2 jobs at once. 1. Kills weeds to the root. 2. Forms a barrier, preventing new ones for up to 4 months. Roundup Extended Control.
Welcome back. The 4 riders are still clear, and in fact they're going to be clear until they're in the showers in Saint-Gaudens now. But which one of these 4 is going to win? Sanchez is on the sharp end just now. Astelosa, also a Spanish rider, follows him. Santi Cazorla had to work really hard to catch up after the climb of the Col d'Agnès. And the 4th man, he sat at the back. He's credited with only 6% of the work here today, and that is Vladimir Efrakim. He has all the reason in the world not to help them, because his mate is the race leader of the Tour de France, and not Gentini. So he's going to sit there. The question is, will he spoil the fun and try and win the stage, or will he allow these front 3 to fight it out for themselves? We're going to find out pretty soon now. Just over 6 miles to go. Sanchez doing a lot of work. Well, if these boys stay away, and they should, 6 kilometres from the finish, a minute 37. It is coming down. There's some steady pacemaking being done at the back, but it won't fall a minute 37 in 6 kilometres. All of the contenders, they proved one thing today. They're all willing to attack. We had a super attack by Cadell Evans. It didn't work, but it could have done. We've seen Armstrong go on the attack with Contador and get rid of the yellow jersey, but he fought well to come back.
He did, and I think the yellow jersey rode admirably this afternoon. He didn't panic, and that was the important thing. We've seen no real showing from the big contenders, though, Phil, that they can open up the gaps yet, but they've just got to keep tickling away, trying to weaken the Astana armor, because Team Astana at the moment are proving to be head and shoulders as a team above everybody else. And I think that is also something important to note, that Johan Brunel has got a very careful job of work to do over the next 2 weeks of racing. Let's not forget, we have 2 weeks of racing left to go in this race to keep the team as a solid unit. He doesn't want the information in the press that's saying, oh, Alberto Contador's not talking to Armstrong. Armstrong only wants to win and he won't help the team. He's got to get all of that out of the team's knowledge and keep them together as a solid unit, because if you crack Team Astana into 2 pieces, that's when they'll get beaten.
That's probably the only way they can be beaten, quite honestly. Under 5 kilometres to go for the 4 leaders. Just looking down this long, straight, good tarmac road, this. Cassar on the nose. Well, these 4 leaders have just gone under the 5 kilometre banner. The lead has come down to a minute and 32 seconds, but they're not going to get brought back, and at some stage somebody's going to have to attack. After 3 there he goes. He's the first one to go, and you could almost preempt that for Mikel Astalosa. Cassar was paying attention. A little bit of deep digging required from Efrakim and from Sanchez.
Well, Cassar was very attentive, straight onto the wheel of the Spaniard. They've got a slight gap there, and Efrakim, despite the fact that he's had an armchair ride here this afternoon, Phil, has let the gap go.
You're absolutely right. He opened the gap, but Sanchez has quickly closed it. Attack number 1. Now then, where's the next one coming from? Again, I would expect Cassar to start attacking, and it's Efrakim. Efrakim has been brought back, takes the inside. Sandy Cassar said, I'm not going now. That's a fatal mistake.
That is a fatal mistake to allow him. He should have gone straight away to get himself onto the wheel of Efrakim, because Efrakim, as I said, Phil, is the rider who is the most rested of this breakaway this afternoon. He's been sitting on. These 3 guys have been working like Trojans. They need to nail him back very quickly, because if he gets himself 10 or 15 seconds, it's goodbye Vienna.
And the reason he appeared to have blown up there when the split came originally, he had Sanchez on his wheel, and he wanted Sanchez to come round him and take him back to the 2 leaders, so he had the strength to attack. A very, very clever move. That's how he did it. He launched it on the inside, and this time Cassar was looking the wrong way, and he looks at the other 2 to take it up. 2 Spanish riders chase.
Well, that's what he said probably. Now Efrakim has not got to look back at this point. He's just got to get himself into the zone. He's got to concentrate. Look how far forward he is on the saddle. He's trying to keep that big gear going as much as possible. Luis Leon Sanchez made the first part of the move, and now these 3 riders, they're all seasoned professionals, Phil. They're still prepared to work together. Now that is a good move by those 3, because they start looking at each other saying, no, you take me up to Efrakim, then they will not catch him. But they are working as a solid block.
We're looking at a rider here who's moving off now. We must not forget he finished 10th overall in the Tour de France last year. He's got a different role to play this year, and 2 years ago he was on the podium in the Vuelta a España, where he also won a stage and wore the jersey for 4 days as leader of the Tour of Spain. So this boy has a lot of power in that body, and he's gone now and is dragging away. Well, it's going to be possibly a perfect day for Team AG2R, because Nocentini got himself back into the race. He'll keep his yellow tonight, and this rider is trying to now take the first prize back home and say, well, I can do well too.
Well, he's sitting right on the front of his saddle, keeping a massive gear ticking over. He'll be in probably the largest gear that he's got. He's in the streets now of Saint-Giron. He will be looking for the 2 kilometre to go banner, then the 1 kilometre to go banner. I think, though, Phil, they're slowly starting to draw him back here inside of 2Ks.
Well, the trouble is, at 2 kilometres to go, they're going to look to each other, and that's a fatal move, because he just edges out another second, because they don't want to give all their energy to catch, knowing that the other 2 will go round. So it's been left to Astalosa to try and bring them back, and that puts Sanchez probably in the driving seat. Very sharp left-hander here, and in the centre of the town now. will circumnavigate it and head out towards the finishing line. Brave move, but it had to come. And I must say that Astalos has been a powerhouse today.
Well, Luis Leon Sanchez nodding his head a fraction there, not very happy at all with the situation, but still these 3 seasoned professionals. These guys have been pros for an awful long time. Kassar on the front has been a professional since '99. They are still prepared to do the work, and they've got to keep going if they want to pull this man back, because he's opening up the gap once again. He's got maybe 3 seconds lead over them.
Vladimir Efekin is now revving at the limit of his ability, but the boys can't get across. The breakaway has been a long, hot one through the mountains today. Sanchez, who's been trying desperately to save himself for the finish, has got to commit now. He's got to gamble on taking the 2 riders with him, because I think he's the only one who could catch up.
Well, he's done a long turn there, and he's pulled himself back to within around about 25 meters.
1 kilometer to go, the roundabout, and then we're into the avenue for the finish here. Astalos has gone down on the left. He's up again. They're close, they're ever so close. Kassar knows how close they are, but he's not going to shut it down by himself. The minute they catch this rider, one of the others will go. And now it's slightly uphill here.
They're slowing down now. They've got to keep going. They dare not even slow down a fraction here, because if they do, the advantage will go to Vladimir Efekin. Luis Leon Sanchez has nailed it back again. It's only 20-30 meters, but until they get to his slipstream, it's advantage Efekin.
Well, Vladimir Efekin, he won a stage of the Tour last year, but that was on the disqualification from the Tour de France of Ricardo Rico. So he hasn't officially ever won a stage yet. But there's still, look at the speed now, Sanchez. He's going to have to bury himself and risk taking 2 of the riders to the line. Desperate moments here, also for Vladimir Efekin. Sandy Kassar has waited. Sanchez tempted and has swept over the top of him. And now Sandy Kassar is trying to repeat the feat of Ongoing as he races up. Now the kick by Luis Leon Sanchez, shades of Aurillac a year ago, as he finally has done it. He's got his win, deserves it. What a gamble, and he's won.
Well, he played a very good tactical game there, Phil, on the run in towards the finish. He used his energy when he could, and he slowly clawed his way back to Efekin and the main fielder in the streets of Saint-Gaudens as well. But that was a well-timed sprint by Luis Leon Sanchez. He picked this stage out a long time ago, and he came up with the goods. For a moment there, I thought maybe Sandy Kassar was going to pull one over on him, but you know, I have to say, and I said it a little bit earlier on, that man Luis Leon Sanchez is a real class act.
Well, that was a terrific ride, and he didn't look on until those last few 100 meters. Feel sorry a little bit for Vladimir Efekin, but he wasn't the workhorse in the break. We're now back to the main group here. The only coloured jersey missing is the green one of Mark Cavendish. That will go over to Tor Hushoff today, but the other leaders' jerseys are in the pack, which means they will all get the same time. Here's the police and the escorts now taking the winner today, Luis Leon Sanchez, around the back to get ready for the prize presentation. Big victory for Case Dupont. How ironic, when we leave the Spanish-speaking nations, he goes and wins in France, but that's the way the Tour goes. Christophe Moreau on the far left in the blue jersey. Cadel Evans also keeping out of trouble, also on the far left. Probably saw that Australian flag as well.
All of the main contenders, Phil, in this group this afternoon. Another little taste of the mountain for them. There's Lance Armstrong in the black and yellow helmet, just at the back of the pack. Not taking any risks today, but every time it looked as if the race was going to be dangerous, he came up to the front end of the pack.
So they're opening up the sprint here for the line now, but I must say that there are no sprinters apparent at the head of this field, so it could be a little bit of a free-for-all. These boys are spinning for the 5th place, so there are green points. There's also prizes down the top 25, and so they're just going to go. This Gutierrez is coming up on the left. Either way, they're going to hit the line all together. He's very happy because the same team as Sanchez just wiped up from the bunch sprint as well, but all in, all the same time. There's still a blanket over the first 3 riders in this year's Tour de France.
Yeah, all the major contenders in there, Phil. Contador, Armstrong, all of the men who are at the top end of the overall classification. The guys sprinting out for 5th, 6th and 7th place were some of the lesser riders who were still looking to get themselves a little bit of glory, because it's always good for somebody to finish in the top 10 of a stage of the Tour de France. Let's have a look at this one more time, because this was a very clever move by Luis Leon Sanchez. At this point, they could not waver at all in their desire to catch the man at the front, Vladimir Efekin. They were still sharing turns. They were all, fortunately, serious professional bike riders who've been around for quite some time. This is the move that probably gave the win to Luis Leon Sanchez. He sacrificed himself there. He didn't care whether or not he was going to drag anyone back up, because he knew if he didn't chase Effenkin at this time, he was racing for second place.
And now he was tempting Cassar to come past him here so he could get into his slipstream. Stanley, I think, should have waited just that split second. It might have been a different result, but no, he carried on taking the run for the line. That was perfect for Sanchez, saving 30% of his energy, sitting behind him there and waiting till the last moment to charge over the top. And he'd be happy. I think it was Rockas, his teammate, who came up with the bunch sprint victory for 5th place. So there's the situation at the moment, at the end, looking out to the snow, still on the tops there of the Pyrenees. And remember, we're on the highest of them all tomorrow, the Col de Tourmalet. There's the sprint victory for Luis Sanchez. I tell you what, Bob Roll will be happy. We'll take a break.
There aren't any towels in my room.
Continue.
Friendly service. Real value from your friends at Hampton.
Whether you're powering down the asphalt in a Cervelo S2 or a Cadillac CTS Sport Wagon, you're sure to get that rush. Now imagine the rush you could feel at the final stage of the Tour de France with the Cadillac Ride of Your Life sweepstakes. Just watch the Tour de France on Versus and look for the on-screen code. Then log on to Versus.com/rideofyourlife to enter. You could win a Cervelo S2 and a VIP trip to Paris to watch the 2010 Tour. The Cadillac Ride of Your Life sweepstakes, and watch the Tour de France right here on Versus.
When your engine's running clean, you feel it. And Pennzoil Motor Oil actively cleans out up to 15% of sludge the first time you use it. So feel the clean. Not just oil, Pennzoil.
Tuesday, Versus delivers sports from soup.
Sports soup for everyone!
To nuts.
Oh, you're so full of
Sports soup and Fanarchy. Tuesday night, only on Versus.
If your lawn looks like this, and you can do this, in just 2 weeks, your lawn could look like this. Introducing Patch Perfect, the incredible power-growing grass seed that grows faster, thicker, and fuller than any grass seed you've ever used, guaranteed. Just spread it and forget it. Patch Perfect grows like crazy anywhere. This is an ordinary grass seed, and this is a Patch Perfect seed. You can see the difference. The Patch Perfect growing secret is its powerful fertilizer mulch cocoon that surrounds each seed, soaking up and retaining water. It's like each seed has its own ecosystem. We place Patch Perfect directly on top of concrete blocks without dirt or mulch, and the grass still grows. It grows anywhere. Why would you settle for an ugly lawn like this when you can have a rich, full, beautiful green lawn like this? Patch Perfect is available now at the landscaper's direct price of only $19.95. But wait, call right now and we'll double size your order. Get growing with Patch Perfect. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-898-2336 to order your Patch Perfect. That's 1-800-898-2336. Call now.
If you think all batteries are the same, consider this. When a tornado tore through Holly, Colorado, Air Life Denver took to the air. Their night vision goggles keeping them safe on a perilous flight. And powering those precision goggles is the only battery Air Life trusts. Duracell. Broad daylight or the darkest night, it just has to work. Duracell. Trusted everywhere.
Here's the thing that makes life so interesting. The theory of evolution claims only the strong shall survive. Maybe so. Maybe so. But the theory of competition says just because they're the strong doesn't mean they can't get their asses kicked. That's right. See, what every long shot come from behind underdog will tell you is this. The other guy may in fact be the favorite. The odds may be stacked against you, fair enough. But what the odds don't know is this isn't a math test. This is a completely different kind of test. One where passion has a funny way of trumping logic. So before you step up to the starting line, before the whistle blows and the clock starts ticking, just remember, out here, the results don't always add up. No matter what the stats may say, and the experts may think, and the commentators may have predicted, when the race is on, all bets are off. Don't be surprised if somebody decides to flip the script and take a pass on yelling uncle. And then suddenly, as the old saying goes, we got ourselves a game.
Welcome back. The Tour de France is in town now. Well, most of the riders. There's still quite a few coming in, including the green jersey of Mark Cavendish. Over 9 minutes going by now since we saw Sanchez take out the stage. Let's hope Mark Cavendish gets in before the elimination axe falls down on the Tour today. Let's have another look at how it all wound out here. Vladimir Efrekim on the left was swept up. Immediate reaction coming from Sandy Cassar, exactly what Sanchez wanted. He just checked to see what Astolosa was, rested quickly in his slipstream, and then dived for the line. It was almost a repeat win of the type of win he got in Aurillac last year. He's just a little bit further ahead of the peloton then. So let's have a look at our Cadillac performance highlights today. Back to the start now. There is a happy-looking, contented Cavendish, no longer in yet. Yellow jersey on Ronaldo Nocentini as they roll away here with Lance Armstrong and Alberto Contador also separated overall by just 2 seconds. The attacks came immediately on the climb of the Port d'Envalira as Cadel Evans on the far left of our picture here got into a very workmanlike group, and they flew up this mountain. They really did. They've come home very early today. This is a chance Evans had to try and wipe away his 3 minutes and 7 seconds deficit. But at the top of the climb, Sandy Cassar led all the way, cleared the field, shakes hands with the spectator, gets on with the job. Then he's joined by a very select group of riders. They formed a group of 10 riders here. Wasn't to be the final shake-up, and this was one man who got on was Fabian Cancellara. Wanted more work from the rest of the group. Wasn't really happening. Cadel Evans was the man who was causing the consternation of the peloton behind. He wanted that group to fly like the wind and get all his lost time back over this past week of the Tour de France. The peloton, look at the line here, had other ideas, and soon he was back in that group. Then we got into the hunt for the green jersey competition. Tor Hushoff got himself into the front group. Hincapie chasing him here. 6 points for the green jersey. He was now in the lead in that competition. He started the day just 1 point behind Mark Cavendish. In the next sprint along the road, he did it again. Poor old George had to be content with second, so he won 12 points, and that put him 11 in the lead. And then it was goodbye to the breakaway as he faded back through the main field. Second climb of the day was the Col de Port. Not a hard climb, quite a fast climb. The breakaway was still on, and Sandy Cassar was still winning at the top. This time he's chased by Mikhail Ignatiev over the top of that climb. Climb number 3, though, the action was the second group on the road because Andy Schleck decided to test the legs of the strong men. Up front, George Hincapie was dispatched from the leaders and wouldn't see them again before the finish. Armstrong, Contador, Leipheimer all working well here with a very select group. They put the yellow jersey on the defensive. He was out of yellow for quite a while on the climb of the Col d'Agnès, but he would get it back. Meanwhile, towards the summit, Sanchez was still dreaming of a likely win down in Saint-Gaudens. Over the top, he was winning the climb. Vladimir Efrekim following him everywhere because he was the teammate of the yellow jersey who had recovered and caught them before the top of the Col d'Agnès. Probably the best thing that could happen for the breakaway because once they were caught, you see, they slowed right down. That's caught a little bit off guard then with a tester by Kurt Attel Arvidsson. Put his head down, said, oh, there's been an attack, we better catch up. And they did. Then meanwhile, the real attack, this started the mood into the finishing at 4 kilometres to go. It was an attack by Efekim, the teammate of Noscentini, and it looked to be good enough to win. He stayed away till the last few hundred yards to the line. Then finally, the three got themselves together. Sanchez brought them back. Cassar should have waited just a little bit longer, but he thought he had the legs to go the distance, and that's exactly what Sanchez wanted. Just the chance. A 2-second rest behind in the slipstream, grit your teeth and kick round the Frenchman. Really, Cassar should have had that, but Sanchez was the cleverer rider. He gets his win in this year's Tour de France to match his win last year at Aurillac. Good win for Castapon. Interesting that a Spanish rider wins on French roads, isn't it? Well, that's our Cadillac performance highlights on another busy day in the Tour. So let's see now if we can show you the stage results as we saw them. There they are. The first four were in. Their winning margin over teammate of Sanchez, Rojas, 1 minute 54. Rojas led them home. So Castapon did well here today, that's to say the least. See if we can show you a few more places here. Christophe Riblan, who's in the mountains in the breakaway yesterday, shows he can sprint as well with a 6th place. Peter Velits used to be a teammate, by the way, of Vladimir Efekim. He was also in the result there today. Arvidsson, we saw attack on the road. He was 14th. Anybody else? Yes, Brice Feliu in his polka dot jersey finished 17th. He is going to be a good rider, isn't he? Cloden of Team Astana 19th. Andy Schleck, all the same time. That's what's important. 1 minute 54. Armstrong was in this group as well, as were Cazelle Evans, Bradley Wiggins, Frank Schleck, Levi Leipheimer and Alberto Contador. George Hincap, he's now had a little wash down. He didn't quite catch the breakaway, but let's have a word with him anyway. Come on, George.
George, the fireworks started today on the very first climb. Can you tell me, how did you get yourself situated into that first break?
Just went right over the top of the climb, like about 500 meters to go, and did the descent full gas, caught the break, and then a couple guys came from behind that were fresher, and I couldn't quite stay with them on the last climb.
A hard climbing day today. Last year, you came off a little bit before the end of the climb and couldn't regain on the descent. A little bit of deja vu for you this time?
Yeah, definitely. I knew the descent wasn't that technical. It only had a couple corners for the first 5K, so I went full gas there, and after that, I knew that there was slim chance to come back, so I just waited for the group.
Your team continues to be very attacking-oriented, aggressive. Has there been a decision on your team of who is the GC rider now?
Well, definitely we're going to do what we can for Tony. Maxime is riding great as Kim's getting better every day. So for now, we're just going to try to follow the moves and see if we're going to win another stage and have some guys in the overall.
All right, thank you.
Well done, George. Talking about Tony Martin there, that's the boy they're working for. He's still got the white jersey, don't forget, as the best rookie of this tour, and he finished in that group as well. Well, next up will be the podiums. The boys are nearly ready. We'll have interviews as well, and we'll have an interview with Christian van der Velde. That boy's on his way back after finishing 4th in the Tour de France last year. See you in a moment.
12 summers of boat hauling, 6 minutes to soccer practice, 63 miles of commuting daily. For any extreme, from the road to the racetrack, nothing beats Mobil 1, the official motor oil of NASCAR, and the choice of over half of all NASCAR teams. So put some NASCAR in your car with the One, Mobil 1.
The hybrid for everyone is here. The Insight, designed and priced for us all, from Honda.
At TireRack.com, we stock more tires than anyone else, anywhere. Nearly 1 million tires. But we don't just stock them, we test them. And we post user reviews, so you can find which tires are the best for you and your car. All this at a price that won't slow you down. And that's 1 in a million, or in most cases, 4 in a million. The biggest selection of tires anywhere. One more way, Tire Rack is revolutionizing the way you buy tires. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
Never enough room in your closet? Introducing Wonder Hanger for triple the closet space. Place up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 garments in the open slots. Lift and release. Jackets, shirts, pants. No more crowded mess. Wonder Hanger is guaranteed to triple your closet space for neat, wrinkle-free, perfectly organized clothes. Neatly organize your purses. The open mouth design fits wood, metal, or plastic. Wonder Hanger can support 20 pounds. Strong enough for heavy coats. Now get 5 Wonder Hangers. 2 amazing Bend-A-Hangers. Bend them up so silky tops won't slip. Bend them down to eliminate shoulder bumps. And get the stick-up light for instant closet lighting free. You get it all, just $9.99. Now, double your order. Get a second set free. Just pay separate processing and handling. That's 10 Wonder Hangers, 4 Bend-A-Hangers, and 2 stick-up lights. A $50 value, just $9.99.
Il voulait la victoire d'étape comme il l'avait obtenue à Angoulême, et rappelons que pas très loin d'ici, il avait gagné la route du Sud.
Welcome back to Town of Saint-Gaudens here. The river coursing right through the centre. The race is on the left. Our hotel for information is on the right. And we've seen a very good race again today where the intended challengers have hit each other, but at the end of the day, nothing has been gained, all indeed lost. This is the man who gained most for his team. He's still not a challenger for a yellow jersey in the Tour de France. So, Luis Sanchez takes the victory today.
Well, I think it was a well-deserved victory, Phil. He looked like the strongest rider in that breakaway on most of the day. He was at the front, cruising in the middle, at the back. He never looked at any time under pressure, except a little bit down towards the end. As we look at these groups coming in, Phil, these are a lot of riders who've been left far, far behind. There's Nicolas Roche just at the back, but the stage results are a confirmation of Luis Leon Sanchez.
Look how fast he was today. Just 4.5 hours for our journey through the Pyrenees today. Sandy Cassar had to take second place. Astolosa was third. Everkeem was fourth. Rojas, the teammate of the winner, cleaned up at the rest. Well, let's have a look now. What's this one? This is the next yellow jersey for Nocentini. He deserves this jersey today. They hit him, they broke him, he came back.
The reason he didn't lose it, Phil, was because he didn't panic at all. He could not respond to the accelerations of people like Andy Schleck, but he kept at his own pace. He had a teammate alongside him, an experienced Stéphane Goubert, who slowly but surely paced himself back into the race. And I think that's why he managed to keep hold of it here this afternoon.
These are the Hampton Hotels overall standings. Then Nocentini. There's no change in the time gaps with this morning. You still throw a blanket over Contador, Armstrong and Nocentini. Contador 6 seconds, Armstrong 2 seconds further back. Leipheimer, their teammate as well, is in 4th. Bradley Wiggins of Garmin Slipstream is 5th. Cloden, another Astana rider, is 6th. So many cards they can play. Tony Martin is still holding an incredible 7th, a young rider there. Van der Velde is in 8th place at 1 minute 24 seconds. And we can now go and have a word with Christian Van der Velde, who's talking to Robbie Ventura.
Christian, second day in the mountains. Anything interesting happen out there? Can you tell us a little bit about the stage?
Yeah, it was really hard at the beginning. It was really hard at the beginning. We went up through Col de Casas and Valera. That's a really hard, long climb, especially right out of the blocks. And it was everywhere. And Cadell attacked through there, and it was a big, long chase. And then when that came together, another group went off, and you just really didn't know what was going to happen. You know, we didn't think of if guys were going to launch guys up the road and to their teammates or what. And I think Saxo Bank wanted to put Astana back in the jersey, put a little bit more pressure on them, but it would have been a hard thing to do.
Astana did a lot of pulling, and then we even saw the Garmin Slipstream team start pulling there at the end. What was the tactic there?
Well, there's a couple of those guys were pretty good in the breakaway. You don't want to just give them free time, so we just have to pull a little bit.
Cheers, good race.
Well done. Well, I'll tell you what, Christian reacted well today, Paul, because it was such a difficult race in the first 20 kilometres today.
No, it certainly was, straight out of the blocks over the Port d'Envolera. But what I think is important and interesting that he mentioned there, Phil, was that he felt that Saxo Bank were actually trying to get rid of the yellow jersey to put Team Astana into the lead, to put them under pressure.
Right, well, we'll watch that unfold maybe tomorrow. But here we go. Thor Hushoff, the only Norwegian cyclist ever to win this green jersey, just claimed it back today. He won the first 2 sprints. He now leads Mark Cavendish by 11 points. And as I speak, and we see these pictures, Mark Cavendish is actually coming in. So he hasn't been eliminated. He's a long way behind, though.
Well, it's been a long run. This is the Autobus. This is the group of most of the sprinters there. You can see just at the front Mark Cavendish with Bernard Eisel, his faithful pilot fish. He's made the time cut here this afternoon. It's only 22, 23 minutes.
He probably saw Hushoff pinch his jersey there on the podium. There we are, 117 points for Tor, 106 for Mark. This race will go for a couple of weeks yet, believe me. Cholik didn't score at all. He's third. Rokas did score today because he was fifth on the line, so he's up to 65 now. Cancellara, he's fifth with 55. So the big danger is also Rokas, who's a very good bunch sprinter. Cavendish, though, as we move away from the Pyrenees in a couple of days' time, he might come back into his own.
Well, the riders tomorrow, Phil, I don't think are going to enjoy it if they're a sprinter, because the sprinters once again are going to have to play a game of survival, because we will remain in the Pyrenees for one more day. And some of the most famous climbs that the Tour de France can throw at the bike riders. They'll move a little way from Saint-Gaudens to Saint-Gaudens for the start, and almost immediately they climb inland to the Pyrenees and start with a very famous climb, one of the first climbs included in the Tour de France, the Col d'Aspin. But that's only an appetizer, because then they climb up through La Mongie to the high spot of the day, the Col de Tourmalet. Again, it's a long way to the finish, but the Col de Tourmalet is a climb that you have to be very careful on, because if you crack on the Col de Tourmalet, it's not 30 seconds you'll lose, it's probably half an hour.
Absolutely, it is a long way to the finish. It's 70 kilometers, but who knows if a breakaway will go on that road. Saint-Gaudens to Tarbes tomorrow. Live coverage starts, note the time, 7 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be live in the Pyrenees as we say goodbye to the Pyrenees tomorrow, and our expanded coverage in the evening comes at the usual time of 8 p.m. Eastern time. Again, Paul, what we've seen today is a very aggressive day of bike racing, and Andy Schleck tried as well as Cadel Evans.
He certainly did, Phil, but what we did also notice was a lot of the big contenders have still not played out their games. There's still a lot of men here can win the Tour de France 2009.
On this occasion, these four won, and again, it was a day the breakaway did succeed. Don't forget all the information, how we do it, all our informal tracker information on Versus.com. Come and play the games as well. So a Spanish rider wins in France, a French rider wins in Spain. How does this work? I hope you're enjoying the coverage. We'll see you all tomorrow bright and early. Goodbye from the team here.